Hey everybody, you are tuning in to the Canary Cry News Talk live stream pre-stream. We're going to get the show started in about a minute, but first, a rousing round of applause for Justin over on YouTube for first comment of the day. I do want to remind everybody, you're going to want to follow us on multiple platforms. If you're watching on the Face Like the Sun YouTube, remember to follow youtube.com/Canary Cry Radio. Also twitch.tv/Canary Cry Radio. We're also on DLive and Periscope and maybe even Instagram nowadays. Who knows where we are? But you're going to want to remember to follow us in multiple places. It's the only way to make sure that you don't miss a show. Also, remember to follow the RSS feed. Use your favorite podcast player. We post every episode after the live broadcast. And so, if you like that good, crisp audio quality, you're going to want to do that as well. All right, folks, make sure to hit the like button while you're at it. Go ahead and stay hydrated. All right, let's go.
The world is getting crazier. People are acting more and more insane. The end of the world is tomorrow. Tomorrow. There's only one thing to do when the world is falling apart. Listen to Basil and Gonz as they discuss this week's news and events through the lens of Bible prophecy.
You are listening to Canary Cry News Talk.
You're listening to Canary Cry News Talk. Today is February 17th, 2021. This is episode 301. And today, cold, dark winter and colder gates. And I am not shoveling any more snow, but I am your best buddy, Basil.
And this is Gonz. Welcome to the podcast where we praise Jesus while reporting the egregious with a well-rounded, biblically grounded take on world events, where on Twitter, Satan is trending.
Yes, Satan and Alex Jones.
And the passing of Rush Limbaugh.
Yes.
And Tucker Carlson. All kinds of stuff trending on Twitter.
It's a red wave on Twitter. This is interesting. Rush Limbaugh passed away. I don't have a whole lot of connections, or I don't know. I'm not very. Look, I'm sure he was a great guy.
Look. Yeah. That's your Biden move. Look. Okay.
I did grow up, listening to him on talk radio in the car. As you do, you're sort of at the whim of whoever's driving the car. So his voice definitely rings in my head from time to time. And there you go. He passed this morning. I'm sure he will be missed. I'm trying to be sensitive. I personally did not have a lot of connection to him recently, but I know, hey, he's a popular guy. A lot of people love him.
Sure, yeah. So I'm trying something different here, and we added Instagram to the live stream, and I have no clue if we're actually pulling it off or not. I have no way of figuring out if there's a link. I see 3 people in there. Now there's 2. I have no idea if it's working or not.
Yeah. We don't have a whole lot of followers on Instagram. We have about 2,000 followers over there on Instagram. So if you're an Instagrammer, go ahead and follow us at canary.cry.radio. And there you go. You can watch the show over there if you want.
Yeah, and someone send us a link if you're there to let us know where
if it's working.
If it's working or where it's happening. I'm supposed to be able to see this thing. I wonder if it's just a blank screen that's going live right now, or just silence.
Somebody says only Basil's face is visible on IG. Everybody, quick, go follow us on Instagram so you can see my face.
Only Basil's face. All right.
Yeah, I don't know what that means. Okay. I'm trying to log in, but I think we changed our password.
Yeah, I changed it to what you said the password was.
Yes, the fake password I gave you.
Yeah, so I'm there too. Is this supposed to show up on a post or IGTV or what?
I don't know.
What is this? What is this Graham thing people are using?
It's these kids these days.
I have no clue what this Insta.
Okay, old
Grammy.
What else is there? I'm trying. I seem to remember there was something important we needed to talk to at the top of the show.
I know what it is.
Subscribe, bell button, all. Like, subscribe, bell button, all.
So there's that.
That's right. If you haven't done it yet, like the video wherever you're watching, like it now, because getting those early likes on the post helps spread the word quite a bit. Remember, you can always take it back. You can, if you decide you don't like the show, you can unlike it. But if you like now, it helps us out quite a bit. I'm into the Instagram. Okay, I'm gonna figure this out. But before that, what do you say? Should we just get into you know what? As a comment real quick about, Satan trending on Twitter. All of those posts are about, the same. It's literally the same exact joke over and over.
Yeah.
Satan is so happy Rush Limbaugh is coming to home or whatever.
Right.
It's just that thousands of times. It's the exact same joke thousands of times. And it's interesting how now it's changed since in the past few minutes, but Satan was trending. And in every single tweet Satan appeared, the words Rush Limbaugh also appeared.
Yeah.
And it wasn't Rush Limbaugh trending. It was Satan trending. So that shows, of course, how they wanted to sort of set the bias over there on Twitter, where, it should have been Rush Limbaugh trending, but instead they chose the other word popping up, which was Satan. And I think a lot of the people tweeting about Rush Limbaugh, I doubt most of them have even heard anything Rush Limbaugh has ever broadcast. I highly doubt it. These are all the left side of Twitter who, they just love it. It's this sickness that happens on Twitter where people revel in horrible things happening to people that they are told that they're not supposed to like. Yeah. And I doubt most of these people have ever heard a word that Rush Limbaugh has ever spoken, but he's a conservative, so that's all you need to know.
I was going to say, conservative guy died. Oh, he must be going to hell.
Yeah,
Satan must be happy. Trend, Satan,
sick.
Satan.
You're sick, Twitter.
Yeah, Twitter.
Yeah.
Twitter is
all
Satan.
Right.
Make that trend.
All right, you want to hit a Flippy update?
Let's do it.
Flippy update.
Do you want fries with that?
Okay, folks, if you're new to the show, Flippy is the colloquial name for the disembodied robot arms that are taking our jobs, enslaving our children, and flirting with our spouses. We use talking about Flippy as a way to investigate how robots and AI are taking over the world, and there's nothing we can do about it. Today I'm coming from yankodesign.com, which is a weird name for a robot arm building company. I'll leave it there. A little strange. The headline is, "This robotic arm uses a trick from the Pixar playbook to appear, quote, friendly." We've got a nice photo here of a very sleek looking Flippy arm that has a little screen face. And it says here, "There's a brilliant study that outlines how the West and the East feel about robots in day-to-day lives. There's a sense of awe and appreciation for robots in the East, while in the West, robots are feared because of the threats they pose." Okay. I love this East versus West paradigm that they're posing at the beginning here.
World War III, baby.
Yeah, these two impressions are directly connected to culture. While Terminator, Skynet, and Black Mirror set an inherent fear of robots into the hearts of Westerners, Transformers, Astro Boy, and other pop cult references made robots feel more awe-inspiring and appeal to the Eastern Hemisphere. Again, this is a strange paradigm. All of these pop culture references that they mentioned are American-made pop culture media, and yet they're splitting up Western created pop culture into East and West. So I don't know if that point stands very much.
As if there aren't any Eastern based movies and propaganda or whatever that shows
as if
robots in a negative light.
Evangelion and Gundam and
those are mostly mech, But there's like bad robots. There's all kinds of bad. Anyway, go on.
Come on, Yanko design. However, with the rising probability that tech will end up making its way into our lives, designer Junhyuk Hong believes the best way to promote human plus robot coexistence is to make robots seem friendly. No kidding. Hong uses a trick that self-driving cars have been using from the get-go to appear less threatening. He proposes an anthropomorphic element to the robot arm to make it more interactive and cute, allowing it to be perceived less as a threat and more as an aid, something Pixar used to make Wall-E and Eve and even Baymax appear more friendly too. The emotional collaborative robot concept. The emotional collaborative robot concept is a multifunctional robotic arm with a display that acts as the robot's face. The use of rounded forms and the cute avatar makes the robot look more amicable and less intimidating. The robotic arm's versatile design allows it to assist humans in multiple tasks, from making your coffee to assisting you with tools in a workshop. So long story short, you can kind of scroll through the pictures here. This is a very sleek looking Flippy arm, but where the claw usually appears in Western robotic arms, they have replaced it with a screen that shows very cartoonish looking eyeballs and faces and things like that to make it more friendly. And this is another step in the direction of the human-robot relationships. That was one thing that Flippy always had, traditionally Flippy always had a problem with, because it was kind of spooky. It was just a disembodied arm with a claw on the end. Very utilitarian and very little attempt to personify this disembodied arm. While we've seen anthropomorphized robots like Pepper and Sophia, things like that, try to take advantage of the cuteness that can be put on a robot to make it more friendly. No longer do we need the human form to find a robot friendly. Just stick a little smiley face on a disembodied robot arm, and everything's gonna be fine.
Yeah, which is ridiculous because it's kind of based on emojis type of feel. I mean, you said eyeballs. They're not even eyeballs. They're just kind of slits
emoji,
that look like.
That's a better way to put it.
Yeah, and obviously you can have angry face emoji. So what are you going to do when the eyes turn inward?
Well, that's when the revolt starts.
Yeah,
those happy little eyeballs turn into bloodshot, bloodthirsty eyeballs.
They turn red, and then the eyebrows go inward. It's kind of like I remember when Johnny Number 5, Short Circuit, when he gets mad, his little eyebrows got all angry, like Arr. So I don't know. This is kind of misleading. I feel yeah, sure, yay, happy face, but it can easily turn mad. Like, I don't understand why.
There you go. You figured it out. You've solved their robot puzzle.
Yanko design.
People are asking if you personally are on Instagram.
I do have an account. I don't really use it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I'm over here on Instagram. I don't see the video. People are saying they found the video.
You know what I realized too? I don't think I put a title on it.
Yeah.
There's no title. There's no. I forgot to click the auto share, auto greeting. There's all kinds of stuff that I didn't put in there.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll figure it out for next time. Apparently, people are watching it, but I have no idea.
Yeah. How are you finding
where
it?
That is?
Where?
I don't know. Somebody send us a link to our own live stream, please.
We're so insta inadequate. Inadequate, Graham.
Ooh, inadequate. Yeah, okay. That's good. All right. Let's keep moving. What do you say?
Okay. Oh, first off, or not first, but just a reminder that we're doing a silver giveaway.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, you want to mention that real quick?
Yeah, sure. So we're still doing the February Canary Cry silver giveaway. If you would like to receive 1 ounce of fine silver. It's in coin form and so generously provided by producer Aaron Moffat. Check her out on YouTube. And so the way to do that is simply by posting on social media. If whatever social media you have, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, we are not currently checking Parler. So if you're posting on a place like Parler, you're going to want to send us a screenshot to canarycryradio@gmail.com. But it's simple. Every time you make a post that includes, say something nice about Canary Cry Radio, use the hashtag Canary Cry News Talk, and post a link to one of our episodes. That will count as an entry into the Canary Cry Silver Giveaway. And you can do it as many times as you want. So go nuts, everybody.
Sinful generation!
Speaking of the beast system, beast system.
So our friends over there in Texas and some surrounding states there are having some issues.
Mm-hmm.
This is CBSNews.com. Second major winter storm threatens wide swath of U.S. with millions still suffering after first. And it says here that nearly 3 million homes and businesses in Texas had no power Wednesday morning following this week's major winter storm, even as a second storm was threatening a wide swath of the U.S. After some of the coldest temperatures in decades hit the Lone Star State, a new problem was emerging: water restrictions because of pipe bursts and a lack of electricity at treatment plants.
Oh, no.
Galveston, Texas was under Stage 5 water restrictions early Wednesday after major water line breaks from a lack of power. KPRC-TV reported residents in Fort Worth were forced to boil their own water after a water treatment plant shut down. Abilene had water issues as well, and Sugar Land, Texas tweeted a plea for water conservation saying, quote, "We need your help. Sugar Land's water system are seeing emergency pressure levels in multiple areas. Please minimize your water use to health and safety needs." The National Weather Service forecasted another, quote, "major winter storm for the South Central Plains to the Mid-Atlantic through Friday, with snowfall of over 4 inches from the Oklahoma to the Mid-Atlantic and a potential 8 inches or more in Pennsylvania, not to mention, quote, significant freezing rain, also likely from Texas to Tennessee and North Carolina to Virginia." Is frozen rain, what's the difference between frozen rain and snow?
That is a great question. I have no idea.
Come on,
Maybe
aren't
it's
you
like,
our weatherman?
Hail? Maybe it's sleet.
Yeah,
maybe it's more of
maybe.
a sleet type.
Yeah, like a scarier ice. The first storm dumped snow and ice, knocking out power across dozens of states, and was blamed for at least 17 deaths, including a grandmother and 3 children who died in a house fire trying to keep warm in Sugar Land. I did also see a story about somebody who was trying to keep warm in the house, and I think a mother and a child passed away because they were in their car, in the garage with the car turned on. Isn't that a well-known way to go out?
Yeah, it is. But, unfortunately, if people are not aware of that, did it give the age of this mother and child?
No. Well, maybe it did, but I didn't dig too deep into the story.
That's too bad. That's too bad to hear.
Oh, it says it right here. In Houston, 2 others died of carbon monoxide poisoning while trying to stay warm inside their car. There was outage after some skyscrapers were still lit up while downtown Dallas went dark Monday night. Texas is the only state in the constitutional U.S. that has its own power grid. It isn't regulated by the federal government, and residents are angry that it failed. I think this is,
no kidding.
If we're talking about a controlled false flag, some kind of weather, geoengineering, weather mod, false flag event, this would be why. And I liken this to the Middle East and how the United States would go occupy, quote unquote, any nation state that did not comply with the petrodollar, or any country that tried to be independent of the petrodollar. They would just find a reason to go in there and occupy and start wars and all this kind of stuff.
Sure.
It seems very similar, like Texas, the only state that is not part of the federal government energy grid. Oh, not part of the plan, hey, Texas?
Yeah.
Why don't we hit you with some geoengineering?
Only you would give up your
independence.
Ability, your independent energy grid to the feds, then this wouldn't happen.
Yep. Quote, I understand that people are angry that this has happened. Let us get the power back on, said CEO Bill Magnus of ERCOT, or ERCOT, the power utility that supplies Texas. National Guard troops and thousands of state troopers were checking in on families who are struggling to stay warm. In parts of Texas and Oklahoma, temperatures hadn't been this low in 100 years, causing pipes to freeze and then explode. The storm has forced COVID-19 vaccination sites to close and has caused delays in new doses from being shipped across the country. Although cold weather would probably help preserve those vaxes, wouldn't they? At least the mRNA ones that are trying to, they're trying to keep it cold.
Yeah, they're turning Texas into a vaccine refrigerator.
Just one giant refrigerator for all those vaxes. Texas Governor Greg Abbott called the storm, quote, the winter version of Hurricane Harvey. State officials asked people to conserve power if they have it. It's a dark winter over there in Texas. And I do have some friends over there. Actually, somebody that was thinking about moving to Austin, and they were there for a job interview this week. And he doesn't necessarily want to move, but his wife is thinking about or trying to pressure the family into moving. And so he was like, this is before they left. They're like, I'm just hoping God would give us a sign to, go there or not. And so we just keep, my wife and I are texting him like, is this a sign? Is this enough of a sign for you? Because the hotel they're staying at ran out of food. They were going to move to another hotel, but that hotel's water main broke. So they had to stand in line in 10-degree weather for 3 hours to get into a Target to get some food.
Yikes.
So he's, I think there's a sign. But also, I think it's hilarious that all the people that moved to Austin, especially like Austin area,
from the
LA.
exodus, the California exodus into Austin. Yeah, the surprises keep coming for those Californians.
Yeah, the local Austinites or Texanites, local Texans are probably like, those Cali criminals brought a curse. But so that's the story. And there's the energy situation is really the big story here. This is PolitiFact.com. Natural gas, not wind turbines, main driver of Texas power shortage. Because on Twitter and everything else, it was trending that not just the fact that Texas has independent energy apart from the federal grid, but that, their main thing was wind turbines. And the wind turbines froze, and that's why they're having this energy shortage. But here's what PolitiFact says. When a rare blast of Arctic air and ice hit Texas and resulted in a massive power outage, the critics of wind power were quick to focus on the wind turbines that came offline. Supporters of wind power argued back that frozen turbines played a minor role in the outage. Texas does have a bodacious amount of wind power.
Bodacious.
Okay. In winter, it supplies about 25% of the state's electricity, and nearly half of the capacity shut down when ice coated the turbine blades. As residents tried to heat their homes, demand surged, and the agency that manages the state's power grid, the Electric Reliability Council of Texas, imposed rolling blackouts. The question is, was the state's reliance on wind power its Achilles heel? Did it fail to have enough gas and coal capacity to meet people's needs during extreme conditions? The numbers show that natural gas plants were the biggest cause of the power shortfall, not wind. And so they're trying to clear it up now, saying, oh, no, it wasn't the wind turbines.
What is the logic between that? I don't understand. They're saying they're not creating enough power to handle the situation.
Yeah.
But it's not because the wind turbines aren't creating enough power. It's because the natural gas is not creating enough power.
Yeah, I think what happened was the general population out there, the normies out there on the Twitters and social medias, were going after them for like, oh, it's those wind turbines. But then, the powers that be were quick to recognize that the ones that the person who put in the clean power plan was their own Obama. This is an article from KUT.org from 2015. What Obama's clean power plan means for Texas, with a picture of wind turbines. And so, Obama had a plan to bring clean energy to Texas, and he was the one that pushed for some of this stuff. And so you can't poo-poo on the Obama plan. So they flipped the story around. No, it's not the wind turbines. It's the The 75% of the energy which comes from natural gas, they failed. So
Weird.
I think it's part of the play to restructure the entire energy grid. Let's see. Dan Woodfin, a senior director for the Electric Reliability Council of Texas, told Bloomberg that frozen gauges and instruments at natural gas, coal, and nuclear plants cut into operations. Natural gas-fired plants also had to deal with low gas pressure in their supply lines. Those of you who have heard the frozen wind turbines are to blame for this, think again, tweeted Jesse Jenkins, engineering professor at Princeton University. The extreme demand and thermal power plant outages are the principal cause. It's not as though the grid operators didn't plan for winter troubles, but they hadn't planned for an event as severe as this.
Yeah, well, I think that's kind of the point. There's a lot of people trying to point fingers and cast blame. And of course, this whole thing is going to be used for political purposes.
Sure.
What it seems like is to sort of integrate Texas infrastructure into the system, man. But, the fact of the matter is that this is one of the events that was semi-unthinkable. So, it's like, who would have planned for negative 30 degrees in Texas?
Well, if you listen to Biden, he promised a cold or a dark winter.
He did promise us a dark winter.
It's going to be a long, dark winter. So there you go. I mean, it is for Texas for sure. And we mentioned last episode how it's interesting that Texas is the target, being, one of the more liberty-minded states, and a red state, Second Amendment state, that kind of thing, being a target. And let's see, I think I had a couple more things here. Oh, this one is a tweet from Eric Fiegelding. How it started, how it's going. Maybe Texas
cool
leader.
Name.
I know. I think he's half Chinese or is Chinese. Maybe Texas leaders in ERCOT ISO should learn that for power grids, sharing is caring. Yeah, they're really trying to shame Texas into not participating in the federal grid, which sounds super China-ish, doesn't it?
Sure, China-ish.
China-ish. I like that term. Yeah, let me play this jingle real quick.
Welcome to Chinese Show!
Not to connect dots or anything, but back in December of 2020, Reuters.com published this article, China vows to beef up weather modification capabilities. And it said that China wants to boost its ability to modify the weather and will extend an artificial rain and snow program to cover at least 5.5 million square kilometers of land by 2025, the country's cabinet said late on Wednesday. Maybe he meant 2021 for Texas. But given the fact that, I think this whole episode, we're covering about 18 to 20 stories on this episode. People paying attention from top to bottom will notice the dot connections once we get into the politics section after the break, the connection to China and the weather modification technologies and Texas having weather situations that haven't occurred in 100 years, to Bill Gates and farming. And there's a whole bunch of stuff that seems to all be conspiring together, dare I say.
Oh, that's crazy talk, Gonz. Yeah. Okay, we'll get into another story here in a second. Thank you to all of you who are sending me screenshots of the Instagram thing. So I see that it exists, and I see what they're talking about. It looks like we have some formatting to do for the Instagram Live, because that it's the Instagram Live is shaped vertically.
I know. It's
so
made
we've
for the
just
mobile.
got a sweet vertical shot of me and whatever's above my head. But thank you for the screenshots. If somebody could share with us a link to that so I can actually pull it up, that would be great. I think you just press the share button and share it with canary.cry.radio. That'd be great. And I do also want to make a quick little mention here. As of now, the producer segment for this episode is going to be pretty short. So if you're out there, you've been thinking about producing the show, there's definitely some room here for producers to join in. We'll be going into the producer segment in about an hour, so you got a little bit of time. But head over to canarycryradio.com/support.
Oh, jingle time.
canarycryradio.com/support.
Speaking of record setting and crazy things happening, Bitcoin hit another all-time high today. I think it hit 52K at some point.
Woo! That is crazy.
Just keeps cranking.
I know. Yeah, I think there's some technical analysis is very limited when it comes to a bull run like this, but some people are saying based on the some algorithmic thing with the parabolic moves after a halving of Bitcoin, which happened last year. Some people are expecting 100,000 Bitcoin by March or April.
$100,000.
$100,000.
Oh,
yeah.
by March or April. Well, that makes sense because, again, the big bankers, Citibank analysis people, and I think Bank of America came out with this too. This was a few months ago that they're expecting it to hit 300K by the end of the year.
Yeah,
so,
which is
it can seem daunting to get in at this price range, and of course, don't risk anything you're not willing to lose. But yeah, there seems to be still some way to go.
I think I don't know what episode. If there's a listener out there that remembers, I think I predicted last year. I think this was like last summer. I predicted 250, and you predicted 150K. So we'll see. Yeah. We'll see who wins.
Yeah.
Which sounded ridiculous at the time, because Bitcoin was under $10,000, and people were like, "You guys are insane." But yeah, alas, we are proven right. Well, not yet, but soon.
All right. Well, let's talk about Bill Gates here for a little bit.
We're taking things that are genetically modified organisms, and we're injecting them in little kids' arms. We just shoot them right into the vein, right into the vein, right into the vein, right into the vein.
Right into the vein. Okay, this is coming from The Hill. It's mirrored on MSN.com here. And the headline is Bill Gates, rich nations should move to 100% synthetic beef.
Ugh.
Why? Okay, let's see what he has to say. In a recent interview with Technology Review, Gates discussed his new book. Oh, how did he have time to write a book, I wonder? Quote, How to Avoid a Climate Disaster, and emphasize the benefits rich nations could produce by moving to 100% synthetic beef. Yeah, because synthetic food has worked so well for human biology so far. You know, who cares about eating fruits and veggies and whole foods like, pasture-raised meats and things like that? Make sure it comes in a wrapper. It needs to come wrapped in plastic, and that's how we can save the earth. Quote, I do think all rich countries should move to 100% synthetic beef, Gates said when asked about how countries can help to reduce methane emissions when it comes to food production. Quote, you can get used to the taste difference. You can get used to the taste difference, and the claim is they're going to make it taste even better over time. That is the least confidence-building statement you can make about switching to synthetic beef. You'll get used to it, and it'll get better eventually.
It's what he's trying to say is it's an acquired taste, but people have his PR must have told him, don't sound elitist, Bill.
Yeah.
So,
well, and notice...
Okay.
Yeah, right. And notice how it's based on taste, as if that's what we're all worried about.
What we're worried about.
I mean, see, it's that obsession with taste that has put at least the American food system in the place that it's in, because everybody's focusing on taste.
Yeah.
You know, that's McDonald's. Make it salty, make it sweet, make it taste good, and people eat a lot of it. And so, the taste is the least worrisome part of synthetic beef. Or synthetic food in general.
Just synthetic anything.
The worrisome part is, A, is it nutritious? And B, does it have extra stuff that's going to twist you up inside in one way or another? You can get used to the taste. And the claim is, I like this too, the claim is they're going to make it taste even better over time. So he's not even promising. He's just saying, The claim is,
I know it doesn't taste good now, but it'll taste better later, especially if you get the jab straight into the vein. Straight into the vein.
Straight into the vein. The philanthropist and Microsoft co-founder told the outlet he is hopeful that a turn to plant-based proteins will help combat methane emissions produced by livestock. Quote, Impossible and Beyond have a roadmap. Equality, that's the two companies the popular companies that make fake meat, have a roadmap. A quality roadmap and a cost roadmap that makes them totally competitive, Gates said, referring to popular plant-based meat companies. Quote, as for scale today, they don't represent 1% of the meat in the world, but they're on their way. Now, here's another little switcheroo that's going on here. He's talking about synthetic beef, which is beef. It's still beef. And they've been working with growing beef in a lab, based on beef cells and multiplying them in a petri dish to try to make synthetic beef. But referring to Impossible and Beyond as synthetic beef is erroneous at best. They're not beef in any way. They're plant protein, pea protein, and beets and all this weird stuff. It's not synthetic beef. It's just fake meat replacement. So there's a total difference. And this article, and Bill Gates, I would argue, is not representing it honestly. Let's keep going. Gates told Technology Review that he acknowledges the alternative argument that getting rid of cows is viewed as an unpopular approach, which is why they used weather modification to destroy Texas cattle supply. But
we'll get there.
Moving on. But he said that the benefits of plant protein are worth a shift for some countries. Quote, eventually that green premium is modest enough that you can sort of change the behavior of people or use regulation to totally shift demand, Gates said. So for meat in the middle income and above countries, I do think it's possible. So there you go, right from the horse's mouth. Eventually, that green premium is modest enough that you can sort of change the behavior of people or use regulation to totally shift the demand. Now, if you're looking at the text of this article.
Right. Okay, good. Yeah. You're going to point it out. I was going to say.
Yeah. Behavior of is in brackets as if the context was added later. The actual quote is, eventually that green premium is modest enough that you can sort of change the people or use regulation to totally shift demand.
Yeah.
And behavior of was added and bracketed there. So, to clarify his intention, don't mix what he actually said with his intention. That would be crazy.
He's not trying to genetically change you, just change your behavior.
Yeah. So the funny thing with this is, we've heard the call to go to meat replacements for a long time now, and Gates has said it before. But there's just so many erroneous parts of what he's saying. First of all, calling meat replacements like Impossible and Beyond as synthetic beef, which is categorically not true. And then, obviously, the admission that he wants to change people, or at least change the behavior of people, and use regulation to totally shift the demand. And for those who pay attention, the phrase use regulation to totally shift the demand, that's a fancy way of saying taxing beef higher.
Yes.
Is using regulation to shift demand. That's how the government tries to shift behavior patterns. They did it with alcohol and tobacco. They do it with foreign goods. They do it with a lot of things. They use taxes to de-incentivize a certain product that they don't want people partaking in. So there you go. Bill Gates, expert medical doctor of vaccinations, and apparently farmer, now wants to get rid of beef and switch over to some sort of replacement.
Yeah, which is always hilarious because you got, the people that are, and I'm not bagging on vegetarians per se here or vegans or anything like that, but they always talk about stuff like tofurkey or some, the synthetic type of meats.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just really interesting how they shape it in the meat.
Yeah.
You know, like,
right.
why don't they just make it their own thing? Like, hey, this is the synthetic food that's going to give me protein.
Because we got to shape behavior first, Gonz.
It's just so
and
deceptive.
Those who have been listening to the show for a while know that, you know, I was a vegetarian for a long time, mainly to make girlfriends happy or something. But yeah, I was a vegetarian for almost a decade, and it was fine. And people can be vegetarian if they want. There's nothing wrong with that. Or vegan, do whatever you want. But you know, if the problem is when they try to come between me and my cheeseburger, that's when things start to get a little hairy.
Yeah, I'm a vegetarian too, except I eat chicken, red meat, and fish. So
okay,
other than
there
that,
you go.
I'm definitely vegetarian. If that
Well, even when
counts.
I was vegetarian, I had two exceptions, and that was bacon, and
I remember.
and pepperoni.
Yeah.
And what ended up happening was I was vegetarian most of the time, but I would eat way too much bacon and eat way too much pepperoni.
Here's some bread with that giant pepperoni stash you have on your pizza.
Yeah, exactly. My vegetarian pizza pepperoni.
Yeah. So not to connect more dots here, but I did tweet out, and I messed up here because I my tweet says, "Where's their smoke?" which I meant to say was "Where there's smoke," and I screenshotted some stories. So we had the Bill Gates is reportedly the largest farmland owner in America. This was back in January. And I put that screenshot next to Texas had the most farms in the United States in 2017, followed by Missouri and Iowa. Texas has about 70,000 farms as of 2017. So the biggest farm, which it makes sense. They got a lot of land there, so it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And then putting that next to millions in Texas without power as deadly storm brings snow, freezing weather. And next to that, this story here about Bill Gates, rich nations should move to 100% synthetic beef. I don't know. I'm not a conspiracy theorist per se, Basil. More of an analyst.
It's all coincidence, Gonz.
It's all coincidence or not. I don't know. Nothing to see here. It's all to fight climate change. And yes, but there's a section in 1 Timothy 4. I like this because it, especially in the King James, there's a different word in there that really goes against this. So the first 3 verses here, it says, "Now the Spirit speaketh expressly that in the latter times some shall depart from the faith, giving heed to seducing spirits and doctrines of devils, speaking lies and hypocrisy, having their conscience seared with the hot iron, forbidding to marry, and commanding to abstain from meats, which God hath created to be received with thanksgiving of them which believe and know the truth." So Bill Gates, Antichrist.
He's a Satanist.
Satan should be trending with Bill Gates, not Rush Limbaugh.
Oh, that's definitely happened before. We'll try to make it happen again.
Let's do it again. Come on, folks. Bill Gates of hell.
Okay, on the same path here from irishtimes.com, the headline reads, "Bill Gates, I'm not trying to take anything away from Greta Thunberg, but..." That's a great headline.
Yeah, this is a really long article. I have the segment highlighted,
okay.
the main part.
If you got highlights, I'll let you take it.
Yeah, so basically here, it's Bill Gates promoting his book here, and that's why there's a whole bunch of stories about him today. Bill Gates appears via video conference, Microsoft Teams, not Zoom, obviously, from his office in Seattle, a large space with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Lake Washington. It's a gloomy day outside, and Gates is somewhat eccentrically positioned a long way from the camera behind a large, kidney-shaped desk. His communication manager sits off to one side. If one had to stage for the purpose of symbolism a tableau of a man for whom a distance of 5,000 kilometers between callers still constitutes too intimate of setting, it might be this. Quote, As a way to start, says Gates, Gates's aide, would it be helpful for Bill to make a couple comments about why he wrote his new book? It is helpful, and I'm not ungrateful, but this is not how interviews typically commence. So already really bothering the the Irish Times reporter. It goes on.
He's trying to do a press release, not an interview.
Yeah. So, he's in there, he's smiling. There's all kinds of stuff talking about just climate change and food and all this. And it goes on and on and on. And then there's a section here at the bottom. Let's see. Of the Green New Deal, the proposal backed by Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez that raises the goal of carbon neutrality in a decade, he is flatly dismissive. Quote, well, it's a fairy tale. It's like saying vaccines don't work. Oh, it's a fairy tale. That's a form of science denialism. Why,
I was going to say.
Why peddle fantasies to people? This seems a little harsh. That's the end of the quote there. And then back to the author of the story. This seems a little harsh, and one suspects that Gates's vehemence is powered by a broader disapproval of Ocasio-Cortez's politics. But his point is that there isn't the time, money, or political will to reconfigure the energy industry in a decade. By encouraging an impossible goal, you doom yourself to short-termist measures that prove insufficient. How helpful does he consider protest movements like Extinction Rebellion, with their habit of shutting down busy thoroughfares and rush hour? Quote, well, what we need is innovation. So if they're really strategic about what street they cut off and some poor guy is blocked in traffic and he sits there and says, God, I've got to figure out a way to make steel carbon neutral. I was being lazy. Now that I'm sitting here in traffic, I'm going to go home tonight and figure out how to do this. Then it's a very direct connection between blocking the traffic and solving climate change. Now, okay, that whole block was a quote. This is Bill Gates quoting a hypothetical person who comes across this Extinction Rebellion movement thing, and blocking traffic and stuff. And he says, "Oh, I don't really agree with it with these ridiculous, Whoa, what am I hearing in the background?
Sorry. I figured out how to watch our Instagram thing and I couldn't shut it up.
Okay. This is Bill Gates quoting a hypothetical person that comes across Extinction Rebellion and is cut off because of the protest or whatever, and then thinks, I really should look into how I can be more carbon neutral. Like, anybody does that. Does anybody do that? Has there ever been anybody that's like, oh my gosh, this Extinction Rebellion cut off my main route to get home. I'm stuck in traffic. I really should be more carbon neutral. Anyway,
I should change my mind.
This is so ridiculous.
It shows this fantasy world that these people are living in.
Yeah, it's out of control. He smiles sarcastically. Quote, I don't mean to make fun of it. In a way, their passion is valuable, but it's going to manifest in some ways that aren't that constructive. So we need to channel that energy in a way that takes 51 billion and moves it toward zero. And Greta Thunberg, quote, to some degree, the resonance of the issue, if climate change wasn't important, she wouldn't be on the front page, end quote. I quite like Gates for this. One can imagine him having a pop at Malala Yousafzai too. I don't know who that is.
Malala was the, I think it was an Iranian girl who.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Something with school, going to school.
Yeah. Popular sentimentality is not something that interests him. Quote, I'm not trying to take anything away from her, Greta Thunberg, and every movement needs iconic leaders who speak, and that's a pretty good thing, but there's probably some teenager who believes that the Rohingya should be treated better, and another who thinks we're not investing enough in good education. So the world has sought her out to speak in this clear, almost innocent way about a cause that we're trying to orchestrate our energy around and say, hey, we can we maintain this and convince people to make sacrifices? And how big do these sacrifices need to be? So I'm glad you can't have a movement without high visibility figures. I hope she's not messing up her education. She seems very clever, end quote.
I mean, by refusing to go to school.
This is the weirdest quote. It's like
this is so bizarre.
It is so weird. So he's not really on board with the Greta, like what she's saying specifically, but he's kind of like, I don't know, he's on board with the sentiment of it or something. It's just the weirdest thing. It's like a subtle passive aggressive.
He doesn't like that she's getting attention, and
he's not. Yeah, he thinks he has all the solutions, and
yeah.
This little girl that's more popular than him, probably on all accounts, gets all the attention. So he's like, "Oh, I hope she's not messing up her education.
Yeah,
I can educate her on some things. Jab him." Yeah, so anyway, I just thought this was...
It's coming... I love how it's coming from a guy who dropped out of college.
Well, that's what it says in the next line. Well, hang on, I say. You're a college dropout yourself. And then he says, quote, "That's true. Teaching yourself stuff works very well for some people, and probably for her." Okay.
Oh, my gosh. He is so lame. I mean, it's so funny because on one hand, there's this image. Of course, there's many images of Bill Gates. One is sort of the mainstream, secular idea that he's a genius. So let him do whatever he wants. And then there's the sort of more sinister thing where he's an evil genius and, is just tuned in to the all the wilings of the devil. And then there's just this version of him, which is just sort of a petulant, jealous child who wants all the attention.
Yeah, it's very bizarre. I don't know. I feel like he's trying to win the PR game, but he just doesn't know how, number one. Number two, he's probably surrounded by people that don't have the greatest advice for him. And I think, I don't know. I can't relate to billionaires, obviously. But I'd imagine that it's not easy because you have a lot of people. You have a lot of yes men around you, right?
You're living in an imaginary simulation of what life is like.
Yes,
you're totally disconnected from the normal expression of human existence. Not just because you can afford to do anything and you never have to think about money, except for when you are budgeting out world domination,
vaccines for African children.
Yeah, but you don't have anybody telling you the truth.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that you're a billionaire is going to color everybody's interaction with you, not just in the way that, well, first of all, everybody's going to want something from you. Yeah. And because of that, nobody's going to tell you the truth. They're just going to tell you what you want to hear. They're going to make you feel like the smartest, coolest guy in the room every single time. And I truly think he has just a totally warped perception, not just of life in general, but even his own life. I don't think he has a clear picture of what's going on around him.
Yeah.
I mean, you can see this when he's so surprised all of a sudden that people have conspiracy theories about him. And he's acting like it's a brand new thing. He has been the center of conspiracy theories for at least 10 years, as long as we've been broadcasting.
Oh, yeah.
And certainly longer. So, for him to just, you can tell that people had been hiding this from him or at least nobody mentioning it to him. And of course, he doesn't just sit down and scroll the internet.
Well, yeah.
I don't think he knows how.
Well, the other part too is somebody or the people that he, the answers to him just say, "Oh, those are all just crazy conspiracy theorists."
Right. Yeah.
From the get-go, and so dismiss it. Don't listen to them, and so that warps your thing too, because any kind of criticism that is objective gets dismissed on the account of it's not pro-Bill,
Yeah.
So
right.
Anyway, I just thought it was funny that these world figures, Greta versus Bill, a little jab there. I'm sure Greta and her team are coming up with a response to Bill, and she's going to make an intense video with her wearing a mask. And I don't appreciate your candor.
How dare you?
How dare you, Bill Gates? Okay. All right. Well, anyway.
Okay. Well, I have I got one more story about Bill here.
Yeah, this is half the story. I really don't want to pay Technology Review to read the whole thing.
Well, I got it taken care of, baby.
Oh, nice. There you
got
go.
it right here, and I didn't even have to pay him. I just used my my hacker skills. This is from Technology Review, and the headline is Bill Gates and the Problem with Climate Solutionism. Ooh. There's a problem with
I know.
climate solutionism.
Can you imagine that?
And this is MIT Technology Review. In his new book, How to Avoid a Climate Disaster, Bill Gates takes a technology-centered approach to understanding the climate crisis. Gates begins with the 51 billion tons of greenhouse gases that people create every year. He slices this pollution into sectors by the size of their footprints, working his way from electricity, manufacturing, and agriculture to transportation and buildings. Throughout, Gates is adept at cutting through the complexity of the climate challenge, given the readers handy heuristics to distinguish between the bigger technological problems, cement, and the smaller ones, airplanes. Okay. At the Paris climate, what?
I just said okay.
Yeah, bigger technological problems like cement and smaller ones like airplanes.
Yeah, right.
Guess you got to read the book. At the Paris climate negotiations in 2015, Gates and several dozen other wealthy people launched Breakthrough Energy, an interlinked venture capital fund, lobbying group, and research effort. Gates and his fellow investors argued that both the federal government and the private sector are underinvesting in energy innovation. Breakthrough aims to fill some of this gap, funding everything from next-generation nuclear technology to fake meat that tastes more like beef. The venture fund's $1 billion first round has had some early successes like Impossible Foods. Oh, that's interesting. So Gates is actually an investor in Impossible Foods.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah. Well, that's a good little detail to keep in mind as we move forward. A maker of plant-based burgers, the fund announced a second round of equal size in January. Oh, man, maybe we need to come up with some sort of climate. We got to solve the climate crisis. We can get all that Bill Gates money.
I'm sure we could come up with the pitch.
Well, apparently cement. We can figure something out with cement. If anybody out there listening knows anything about cement, let's get that Gates money. A parallel effort, an international pact called Mission Innovation, says it has persuaded its members, the executive branch of the European Union, along with 24 countries, including China and the U.S. and India and Brazil, to commit to an additional $4.6 billion every year since 2015 to clean energy research and development. Wow, this is the business to be in, man. These various endeavors are the through line for Gates's latest book, written from techno-optimist's perspective. Quote, everything I've learned about climate and technology makes me optimistic. If we act fast enough, we can avoid a climate catastrophe, he writes in the opening pages. As many others have pointed out, a lot of the necessary technology already exists. Much can be done now. Though Gates doesn't dispute this, his book focuses on the technological challenges that he believes must still be overcome to achieve greater decarbonization. He spends less time on the political obstacles, writing that he thinks, quote, more like an engineer than a political scientist, yet politics, in all of its messiness, is the key barrier to progress on climate change, and engineers ought to understand how complex systems can have feedback loops that go awry. Yes, Minister. Is the headline to this next paragraph, which is strange. Kim Stanley Robinson does think like a political scientist. The beginning of his latest novel, The Ministry for the Future, is set just a few years from now in 2025, when a massive heat wave hits India, killing millions. The book's protagonist, Mary Murphy, runs a UN agency tasked with representing the interests of future generations and trying to align the world's governments behind a climate solution. Throughout, the book puts intergenerational equity and various forms of disruptive politics at its center. If you've ever seen the scenarios the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change develops for the future, Robinson's book will feel familiar. His story asks about blah, blah, blah. Why am I reading about this book? Give me something else. Hold on. Reading Gates next to Robinson this is just a advertisement for these two books, I think.
Yeah.
Reading Gates next to Robinson underlines the inextricable link between inequality and climate change. There we go. Gates's effort on climates are laudable, but when he tells us that the combined wealth of the people backing his venture fund is $170 billion, we may be puzzled that they have dedicated only $2 billion to climate solutions. Less than 2% of their assets. This fact alone is an argument for wealth taxes. The climate crisis demands government action. It cannot be left to the whims of billionaires. That is an interesting point to make. The majority of action that can be taken on this so-called crisis is by billionaires, and it is kind of left to the whims of billionaires to do something about it, in their opinion here. As billionaires go, Gates is arguably one of the good ones. He chronicles how he uses his wealth. Oh, I'm sure he does. He chronicles how he uses his wealth to help the poor and the planet. This reminds me of, in the Bible when John writes how John was the most beloved apostle.
Yeah.
The irony of his writing a book on climate change when he flies in a private jet and owns a 66,000 square foot mansion is not lost on the reader, nor on Gates, who calls himself an imperfect messenger on climate change. Still, he is unquestionably an ally to the climate movement. I don't think that's arguable. But by focusing on technological innovation, Gates underplays the material fossil fuel interests, obstructing progress. Climate change denial is strangely not mentioned in the book. Throwing up his hands at political polarization, Gates never makes the connection to his fellow billionaires, Charles and David Koch, who made their fortune in petrochemicals and have played a key role in manufacturing denial. Interesting phrase there. For example, Gates marvels that for the vast majority of Americans, electric heaters are actually cheaper than continuing to use fossil gas. Okay, but where does the electricity come from for those electric heaters? He presents people's failure to adopt these cost-saving, climate-friendly options as a puzzle. It isn't. As journalist Rebecca Laber and Sammy Roth have reported in Mother Jones and Los Angeles Times, the gas industry is funding front groups and marketing campaigns to oppose electrification and keep people hooked on fossil fuels, etc., etc. It goes on, and goes on to advertise many other, at least one other book that they're trying to, attach to the Bill Gates name in his book here. So I don't know. What do you take from this?
I don't know. I mean, it's just, I was hoping for a little more criticism because it seemed like a story that was going after the idea of Bill Gates having all of our solutions with climate solutionism. Mm-hmm. But it seems like just a way to get clicks, but ultimately to bait people into either by being triggered about the positives or the negatives of Bill Gates to buy the book, Yeah.
Well, I'll just read the last little section here. By contrast, this is contrast to the previous book that they're trying to advertise. Though Gates is aware of the potential pitfalls of technological solutions, he still praises plastics and fertilizers as life-giving inventions. Tell that to the sea turtle swallowing plastic garbage, or the fertilizer-driven algal blooms destroying the ecosystem in the Gulf of Mexico. So the writer here is actually trying to bash Gates for thinking plastics and fertilizers are a helpful tool. With dangerous levels of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, geoengineering might indeed prove necessary. Ooh, but we shouldn't be naive about the risks. Ironic, given the Texas issue. Gates's book has many good ideas and is worth reading, but for a fuller picture of the crisis we face, make sure to read Robinson and Colbert too. So there you go. It was indeed an advertisement for these two other books, using Gates and his book as a foundation to lead readers astray.
Yeah, Titus Frost in the chat there. Says, if Bill Gates is so worried about climate change, why did he build his Bellevue, Seattle mansion at current ocean level? Wouldn't it sink?
Yeah, that's a great point.
I think he would respond, it's going to turn into an underwater base.
Well, they did have to make the whole front of that, or the water-facing part of that house, out of bulletproof glass because boaters were throwing rocks at it and stuff. So he may have made it watertight for when it.
I wouldn't put it past him. He's got the money to do it. It's just funny how the optics are not good, Mr. Bill. Yeah. She gets some different PR.
So there you go. The complicated life of Bill Gates.
Oh yeah, we're so sympathetic towards this billionaire who'd rather give vaccines to people in Africa rather than like food or infrastructure to sustain life, and cleanliness.
Look, if he wants to give me part of that $4.6 billion for doing my part of keeping straws out of the noses of turtles, I'll consider it. But until then, we'll see.
Yeah. All right.
That's an invitation, Bill Gates. Try to make us your shills.
All right. I think our something happened to our Instagram live stream here. Let me see if I can.
I think it gets cut off at an hour.
Yeah, and I don't know if I could start it again or what.
Forget it. There's only 2 people there. We'll figure it out. It's all messed up anyways. We got to figure out how to format it better.
Okay. All right. Well, here we go.
33 is the number of completion of the Great War.
We got some good 33 updates today, 33 being the Illuminati dog whistle. This is pbs.org. UK opens quarantine hotels for travelers from 33 high-risk countries. Did you know there are 33 high-risk countries?
No, but imagine that.
Yeah, just 33, though.
The perfect number, yeah.
Yeah, not 34, not 32.
Is America one? Can we go over there? Can I get a little British vacation?
That's a good question. I could be. Yeah, I mean, we're the biggest offenders of the Ronas. So, yeah, it's possible. I don't think we are, though, per se. I don't know.
Okay, let's hear what they got to say.
Let's see. Well, it's not much to read here. Britain's newly established quarantine hotels received their first guests on Monday as the government tries to prevent new coronavirus variants from derailing its fast-moving vaccination drive. Passengers arriving at London's Heathrow Airport were escorted by security guards to buses that took them to nearby hotels. Some of the travelers said they had tried and failed to make it to Britain before Monday to avoid the quarantine. Yada, 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 yada.
Oh,
yada,
no,
yada.
this next one here. Zari Tadoyan, who flew to Heathrow from Dubai and was taken to the Radisson Blue Edwardian Hotel near the airport. And for those who may have missed it a few episodes ago, Radisson is a Chinese Communist Party-owned hotel chain that has been used as quarantine facilities all over the world. So the Chinese are benefiting. Notably, Canadian Radisson hotels have been turned into ET-style safe quarantine zones, and now it sounds like London is doing the same thing, or the UK rather.
Yep. Under the new rules, residents of the UK and Ireland arriving in England from 33 high-risk countries must stay in designated hotels for 10 days at their own expense, with meals delivered to their door like slaves.
Yeah.
In Scotland, the rule applies to arrivals from any country. All right, Scots. They're like, forget the 33, the whole world. That's my really, really horrible Scottish accent.
Yeah, I don't know who that was supposed to
be. Not built for that. But yeah, there you go. 33 high-risk countries, according to the UK.
Okay.
But
thanks, CCP.
That's not it for the UK. This is Yahoo Finance. Pounds hit 33-month high.
Oh.
As UK reaches 15 million COVID vaccine goal.
Oh, good. They hit their goal, so they get rewarded with their 33-month high.
Yeah, the pound soared.
That's the currency value.
Yes, the pound soared to 33-month high against the dollar on Monday amid rising COVID-19 vaccine optimism. It is currently 0.4% higher, breaching $1.3907, a level not seen since April 2018. Yep, it's also 0.31% higher than the euro. Man, these little point.
That's funny. That's an interesting little win for the Brexiters over there.
Yeah. Yes. That was another story that had the because of the Brexit was part of the story.
Yeah. Wow. Good for you, Brexiters.
Yeah. This one, this last 33 update here, I think is it's a full story here. This is from arstechnica.com. New type of supply chain attack hit Apple, Microsoft, and 33 other companies.
Ooh.
Why not just say 35?
Chain.
Why not just say 35 companies or a bunch of companies? No, they needed to isolate Apple, Microsoft, and 33 other companies.
33 others. Yes, that's a good point. They could have just said 35 companies.
They could have said 35 companies, including Apple and Microsoft, but no, the way they had to word it. Last week, a researcher, I wonder if they listened to shows like this, Dan Gooden, and was like, oh, if we do the 33, I'll get clicks from the Canary Cry news talk crowd.
Yeah, at this point, they're just trying to get the conspiracy theorists to click.
Yeah, it says here, last week, a researcher demonstrated a new supply chain attack that executed counterfeit code on networks belonging to some of the biggest companies on the planet, Apple, Microsoft, and Tesla included. Now, fellow researchers are peppering the internet with copycat packages, with more than 150 of them detected so far. The technique was unveiled last Tuesday by security researcher Alex Burson. His so-called dependency confusion or namespace confusion attack starts by placing malicious code in an official public repository such as NPM, I think that's PYPI, is that Python, or Ruby Gems, by giving the submissions the same package name as dependencies used by companies such as Apple, Microsoft, Tesla, and 33 other companies. Burson was able to get these companies to automatically download and install the counterfeit code. Automatic pwnage, which is ownage with the P, which is an internet thing. I haven't heard it in a while, but bringing it back.
It's a cool kid gaming term.
You're pwned. Dependencies are public code libraries or packages that developers use to add common types of functionality to the software they write. By leveraging the work of thousands of their open source peers, developers are spared the hassle and expense of creating the code themselves. The developer's code automatically downloads and incorporates the dependency or any update to it, either from the developer's local computer or from a public repository. Burson scoured internet forums, JavaScript code, accidentally published internal packages, and other sources to find names of code of dependency used by the 35 companies. So, it goes into more detail that we don't have to, but interesting that the supply chain was attacked here in this way. And, we're not hearing too much about it because it's at the software level. But let's see, these researchers ended up receiving a $130,000 bug bounty. So I guess they found it and they fixed it or whatever. But yeah, there's always cyber stuff happening. And Dan Gooden just really highlighting the 33 other companies there.
Yeah, good.
To signal
there we go.
To the
elite.
Those
were some big 33 updates.
Yeah. We have a bunch of stuff for after the break here. POLYTICK. We have a CRISPR article from Scientific American that's really interesting. Some pre-pandemic surveillance, CERN woke story, Space Pope Reptilian, and a Nephilim update. But let's take a break.
It's break time.
Okay, there you go, folks. We're going to take a very quick break to thank some producers. And yes, but don't go anywhere, because after the break, we've got all those great things that Gonz just mentioned. And let's just jump right into it. Some people will be thankful to hear it's a little bit shorter of a producer break here. But for those who are new to the show, and wondering, what are we talking about, producers? Let me let you know, we are on the value for value model. You might notice we don't do any advertisements. We don't have any affiliate codes. We are strictly and exclusively kept on the air by the generosity of our producers. That's right. And our producers, who is that? That's you, folks. We are in the value for value model, which means that we have eschewed the shackles of the advertising industry, which when you boil it down, advertising and the advertising industry is directly responsible for or laid to blame for all sorts of nasty things. Online censorship is put in the context of advertisers, giving them a reason to censor under the guise of being brand friendly. Also, big data, privacy concerns, all that stuff is centered around the advertising industry and how these big tech companies can turn you, dear listener, into a commodity, into an economic unit to be monetized and turned over into profit without your consent, and all for their personal gain. And when we believe that when shows and other types of media use advertising to fund their program, they are consenting to turning over their audience, whom trust them and give them their attention out of all the different places our attention can go, that they are willingly turning their listeners into commodities for other advertising companies. And that just doesn't sit right with us, because you are human. And you are living lives as interesting as our own. And so it's not only an aspect of monetization, but it's also an aspect of just respecting human attention. So we thank you very much for giving us your trust and attention. And for those listeners out there who want to participate in the value for value model and want to respect those who seek to not turn them into an economic unit for the use of the system, then they can become producers. And indeed, they are producers. It's not just charity. It's not just tossing a couple bucks when somebody asks for it. Just like the real world, if you help pay for a piece of media to be produced, you are a producer. And so one of the first ways of becoming a producer of the show is by heading over to patreon.com/CCNT for Canary Cry News Talk. And lucky for those impatient listeners, there are no new producers on the Patreon. So that was quick. Now,
wait, did we mention Nancy?
Oh, yeah. I don't know if we couldn't remember if we mentioned Nancy, but sorry, Nancy, we may have forgotten you last episode. Maybe we did, maybe we didn't. But we do want to thank, either way, our new producer, Nancy. Thank you very much, producer Nancy.
There you go. Thank you.
There we go. Okay. And now, here's the thing. Patreon is not the only way to become a producer. In fact, lots of people don't like Patreon. And if that's you, you can go ahead and head over to canarycryradio.com/support.
canarycryradio.com/support.
That's right. canarycryradio.com/support is a great way to support the show. We've got monthly producership options, and we thank all of our monthly producers for helping lay down a firm foundation for the show. But if commitment is not your thing, you can also make a one-time producership in any amount. Gonz, who do we have coming in on the PayPal?
PayPal, we have Aaron W. coming in.
Thank you very much, Aaron W.
And I believe we weren't sure if he was trying to go for the Squire and maybe the 300 week this week.
He's getting close, whether he is or isn't. He's getting close to the squireship.
Yeah, let us know about that one. We also have producer Michelle E. Thank you, Michelle E.
Thank you very much, Michelle E.
And next we have producer Kyle C. Thank you, producer
Thank you very
Kyle.
much, producer Kyle C.
And also producer Raymond P.
Thank you very much, producer Raymond P.
As well as producer Saul.
There you are, Saul. Thank you very much, producer Saul.
Oh, I guess you put that in there too. Producer Timothy H. coming in.
Yes, producer Timothy H. Thank you. And he comes in with the 33 Illuminati shill producership and leaves a note and says, God bless you guys. I love you. Thank you for your show. We love you back, Timothy. Thank you very much for your support.
Thank you for that. And I guess this came in right now.
Yep.
Producer David M.
Yes, thank you very much, producer David M. Coming in with $33.33, the
Ooh.
double Illuminati shill producership. Thank you very much, and leaves a note as well. In keeping with the pound, $33.33 for you guys. Give thanks for your work. Yah keep you both always. From London, David. Thank you very much, producer David. Oh, and he's over there. Yes, he must be passing on the profits from his Forex trades on the pound there.
Oh, yeah. Some positive action.
Now that his money is worth so much more than ours.
I know, the DXY, the dollar is just sinking like a ship.
Yeah.
At, Titanic or something.
Okay. Like a ship.
Like a ship.
Like a sinking ship, like a Titanic or something like that.
Yeah. So, very good. That's all the producers that we have for PayPal. Thank you very much, everybody. You can also support the show with cryptocurrency or with your time and talent. We want to thank Jade Bouncerson for the timestamps. We appreciate that as they come in. And,
yes, thank you very much.
We don't have any jingles today to share from any of the producers, but we do have some art.
One art, please.
And to start things off, we have producer Grace coming in. This is like a triple. It's like a folding pamphlet style.
Yeah, this is nice. She's sort of condensing she's always very prolific, does lots of art for us, and we're very grateful. But now she's putting them all into one so we can experience it all at once.
Yes. And this first one here, this is the algorithms are easing our children.
Are raising our children.
Oh, raising.
Yes, that was the comment from last episode about these algorithms. Whether you like it or not, whether you believe it or not, these algorithms that are touching every part of our lives, especially online. If your kids are online being raised by the internet, it's AI and algorithms that are raising your children. So watch out, folks. I'm
going to go ahead and place blame on producer Grace for that typo. She's the one that put easing our children.
There was a little typo in the note, but it's correct on the art there.
Okay, yeah, thank you for that. And then the next one says, how do you like them ice balls? From the elites to Texas.
Ice balls. That's how a Californian named Gonz describes snow.
Great. Just put a target. I mean, we already have our issues here, so let's keep it on the down low, folks. We don't need...
This is Southern California boy. What is it when the frozen rain falls from the sky? The ice balls?
You're talking about hail? We had hail a couple weeks ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's really apocalyptic over there.
Yep. Had to shoot him down with my laser gun.
I don't know. Guys, I don't know if Gonz knows what weather is.
Yes, I've been living in this California bubble.
Yeah,
that allegedly exists.
The sunshine bubble.
And the last one here, he has a slight look of panic in his eyes, like there's a Flippy arm holding a gun to his back. Show your smile, human. And this is about Jeff Schwartz.
Jeff Schwartz. I forget what the story exactly was last episode, but yes, he had a crazed look on his eyes as I think he was trying to describe how great robots are.
Yeah. Yeah, he was way too smiley in the picture, the photo op there. Okay, so there's that. And then part 2 of producer Grace's artwork here. This says, or Grace says, okay, guys, this was way too much fun to make. I've never done this before, but have seen it on Pinterest. As I did this, it reminded me of living in Toronto and going to Kensington Market, which is a retro thrifting secondhand market. Haha. You find weird things there. The Basil Essentials, Aloha Cowboy Retro. I can't say I don't feel ridiculous, but I embrace the ridiculous. That's a Basil quote.
Yes.
And you expect someone walking out of a costume store to look like that. That's what I said. I mean that as a compliment. Was the rest of the quote. So, yep,
yes,
there you go.
For those who are just listening, this is like you see on social media, they'll call it like the Boomer Starter Pack or something, or the Essentials for Karen, things like that. And they'll lay out all the products that are associated with those archetypes. And this is the Basil Essentials. We've got some pink pants with a big belt buckle, V-neck T-shirt, some of those glasses that have the fake nose and mustache. Then, of course, a Hawaiian shirt because the Boogaloo Boys stole my steez. Got a nice cowboy hat there. And then we've got some leather jackets, mismatched socks, and of course some googly eyes and a backwards hat. So you nailed it, Grace. Thank you very much. And yeah, if anybody is trying to recreate the Basil wardrobe, here's the essentials.
We're gonna have a runway fashion show, a beast fashion show, where Basil struts his special designs.
Yes, yeah. Beast fashion.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Next up, we have one from Quantum Solace. That's producer Saul. It's a drawing of Alex Jones, who was also trending this morning because he was on Louder with Crowder. Mm-hmm. And it's the Alex Jones Surf Academy. And it says here, Alex Jones will teach you how to fight off non-locals.
The Alex Jones Surf Academy.
Non-locals are Satan-worshipping globalists hired by George Soros. They want to snake your waves and your babies. Learn sweet fighting techniques from AJ himself.
That's funny.
And then avoid deadly shark attacks. Jesus walked on water, and if he can walk on water, then he also could run on water. I will show you how to unlock the godlike conscience and be like Jesus himself. You'll be running away from gnarly shark bites in no time. I've never done it, nor know anyone who has done it, but I know it can be done. And join a surf gang, pretty self-explanatory. By coming together and joining a gang, you'll all become a stronger hive mind unit. Increase your chances of protecting your beach by at least 33%. Stay chill, brah.
Yeah, and for those who are just listening, we've got a fun cartoonized version of Alex Jones there, except for he's got just long golden locks, surfer hair. He's got a boxing dolphin tattoo, and it looks like a recursive. What's the word for it?
Pentagram?
Not pentagram. No, it's the recursive. Shoot.
No, it's the show burps. The square and compass.
Is it?
Yeah, it's the square and compass of the Freemasons. It's got the upside down V and the upper V there with the G inside, but it's all scratched off. Because, he's trying to hide his identity.
I see, yes. You can't hide from us, surfer Alex Jones. Well, that is hilarious. Thank you very much. Who was that? Producer Saul?
Producer Saul, Quantum Solace. And next
what is the star? It's not the pentagram, but it has 6.
Oh, the hexagram.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the recursive one. It's called a recursive. Oh man, somebody in the chat remind me. It's the the Crowley hexagram, but it's got a special name.
The Thelema one.
Yeah, it's the Thelema. You can draw it without ever lifting your pen off the paper or something. It was supposed to be.
Yeah,
I forget what it was. Yeah. All right.
Goes to show we're not Satanists over here. We don't remember all the names of the symbols.
Satanists.
Yeah, we're bad ones.
If we are, we're pretty bad at it.
But we're not. Okay. Also, thank you to producer Mike B. This is Lupercalia. Anything? No? Nothing?
Sorry, I was still looking up this thing. Let me look at it. Lupercalia?
Yes.
Oh. I don't understand Lupercalia, but it's this is the what's her face? Dr.
Jill Biden.
First Lady Dr. Jill Biden put up her Valentine's Day hearts, her paper hearts on the lawn there. And he's got a picture of that, but has added a beautiful blue heart with the Pfizer logo. The old Pfizer logo, I might add.
Yeah, Lupercalia is a Roman festival of purification and fertility held annually on February 15th or Valentine's Day, either way.
Oh, yeah. I had forgotten about that.
Yeah, so that's in reference to that. And there's, purification, fertility. So jab, folks.
Classic.
And last but not least, we have one from producer Ali. Always a good one. And this one is riffing on Gonz's quote, "How do you like them ice balls?" Really?
See, this is what happens, Gonz.
I know.
This is what happens when you go spouting off crazy stuff during the show.
Which someone on YouTube threw out as a challenge for Ali and Grace, and I think they both came through.
Yes. And this is fun. This is, how do you like them? Happy little ice balls. Happy little ice balls. And this is with, oh man, what's his name? Bob.
Blanking on the name. Somebody in the chat, give it to
Somebody
us.
in the chat. What is this guy's name? Hold on. Bob Ross.
Bob Ross.
Thank you. Thank you, Eppany Plays.
Ross.
Yes, Bob Ross with his big hair. Again, a great rendition of Bob Ross. And he's painted some happy little ice balls.
That's the one thing I love about producer Ali. She's like an old soul, How
Yes.
many 13, 14-year-old kids are aware of Bob? I mean, maybe now because of the cultural.
He made a little bit of a resurgence in past years. In fact, if you look at the Twitch chat, Twitch has a Bob Ross emoji. But thank you very much, producer Ali. Always a pleasure.
Very good. Thank you to all of our producers. Do we want to mention Canary Cry merch perch? Just to mention it.
Yeah, of course. That's right. Head over to Canary Cry Merch Perch if you're looking for some Canary Cry merch. We don't run it. That is run by producer Dust over there. We're very happy that he's taken that on, and you can find all sorts of Canary Cry merch available. Many of them are graced by the art of our artists, have made it onto some products over there. So everything is sold at cost for the benefit of our producers and listeners to get some shirts or mugs or whatever you're looking for over there. But you do have the opportunity to tip the webmaster, which please do, or you could tip the artist, which please also do, or you can tip Gonz and myself there, which we'll leave that up to you if you want to do that. So thank you very much. Head over to canarycrymerchperch.com. I feel like there was something we skipped there. Oh, you mentioned the crypto. Yeah. Okay. I don't know. Is that it? Did we do it?
That's it.
No jingles? No nothing?
No jingles.
I did see somebody sent in a song, but if you're going to send us songs or art, you got to make sure to do it before the show, preferably the night before the show. It takes some setting up to get it
this is from producer Martin, too. He's a guy who did People Zoo.
Yeah, People Zoo.
And the bidet. Yeah, he's done quite a bit for us. He has a new song, so look out for that next episode.
Okay, we'll get that on next episode. Thank you, producer Martin. Okay, time to wake up.
Let's do it.
Yes, it's wake up time.
Hey, yo, wake up.
Oh.
It's Latin for many.
Tick.
They'll suck your blood.
Politics.
Your blood.
Politics. Okay, let's start over here at the independent.co.uk. And we've mentioned this before, but we'll get a little bit more details now. And the headline reads, Pelosi calls for 9/11 style commission on Capitol insurrection. For those who might remember, there's the 9/11 Commission, which was put together to investigate 9/11. And of course, it was used to sort of bolster the narrative, the mainstream narrative. However, there were some parts of it that there were some things included and specifically not included that led credence to a lot of the alternate narratives on 9/11. But let's see what this reads. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has called for an independent commission similar to the months-long probe in the wake of the attacks on 11 September. Oh, thank you, UK writers. To investigate the Capitol insurrection on 6 January. Lawmakers have renewed calls for an investigative body to dive into the events surrounding the assault following Donald Trump's impeachment acquittal and a lack of witness testimony in his trial for inciting his followers to violence after months of peddling conspiracy theories and the lie that the 2020 presidential election was stolen from them. The lie. Speaker Pelosi, who tapped retired Lieutenant General Russell Honor to perform a security review of the Capitol complex in the wake of the attack, announced on Monday that, quote, it is clear from his findings and from the impeachment trial that we must get to the truth of how this happened. The quote continues, to protect our security, our security, our security. Our next, they literally put it all in 3 times. To protect our security, our security, our security. Our next, well, that is crazy.
Good old Pelosi. She's good with that. She did the jobs.
Funny how they didn't. We got to see if you can find a clip of that.
I wonder if it's in the video here. There's a video up here. Do you want me to try to play it?
Mitch McConnell, who when this distinguished group of House managers
spit it out, Pelosi,
were gathered on January 15th to deliver the articles of impeachment.
She's got her mask on too.
We're told it could not be received because Mitch McConnell had shut down the Senate.
Yada.
You want to finish the article first?
Let me read, and while I'm reading, if you're able to search, or if somebody in the chat room could search and see if there's a clip of this we could actually listen to. This would make a great ISO if we can find it. To protect our security, our security, our security, our next step will be to establish an outside independent 9/11 style type commission to, quote, investigate and report on the facts and causes surrounding the riots that she has characterized in her statement as, quote, domestic terrorist attack upon the Capitol complex and the, quote, interference with the peaceful transfer of power. The commission also would investigate the preparedness and response of the U.S. Capitol Police and federal, state, and local law enforcement in Washington, D.C. A group of Republican lawmakers have written to Speaker Pelosi about her responsibility for the security of the Capitol and hyperbolic focus on fabricated internal security concerns. In a letter accusing her of leading a political charade after she supported installing magnetometers at the Capitol. The letter from Congressman Jim Jordan, Devin Nunes, Rodney David, and James Comer criticizes Speaker Pelosi for firing the House Sergeant at Arms and demanding the resignation of the Capitol Police Chief. On Sunday, Delaware Senator Chris Coons told ABC that a 9/11 style commission for the assault would, quote, make sure we secure the Capitol going forward and that we lay bare the record of just how responsible and how abjectly violating of this constitutional oath Trump really was. Okay. Madeline Dean, one of the House impeachment managers who served as prosecutor in the trial, said, quote, of course there must be a full commission, an impartial commission, not guided by politics, filled with people who would stand up to the courage of their conviction. Quote, Tom Keene, this former Republican senator of New Jersey and former Democratic Congressman Lee Hamilton, chaired the National Commission on Terrorist Attacks upon the United States, which sought to assemble a complete account of the preparedness and aftermath of the attacks on 11 September. Last week, Mr. Keene and Mr. Hamilton wrote to congressional leaders and President Joe Biden calling for an independent and bipartisan commission to lead a similar investigation for the Capitol attacks. Quote, the 9/11 commissions, this is crazy. They're just repeating over and over and over the same thing. We understand the concept of a commission. Let's see here. The 9/11 Commission's final report concluded that U.S. intelligence agencies and federal law enforcement failed to anticipate terror threats. The commission took more than 2 years to complete the report. In their letter, the former commission chairs wrote, quote, the shocking and tragic assault requires thorough investigation to ensure that the American people learn the truth of what happened that day. An investigation should establish a single narrative and set of facts to identify. And look, this is, that's. An investigation should establish a single narrative and set of facts to identify how the Capitol was left vulnerable, as well as corrective actions to make the institution safe again. So we must establish a single narrative and set of facts. So basically, this commission is created, or the goal of it is to solidify a mainstream narrative that if anything outside of that narrative is suggested, then that is fake news, because the minister of truthiness has already established a single narrative and set of facts. Following a 5-day trial, the former president was acquitted on Saturday after just 7 Republicans joined the Senate Democrats in finding them guilty of months-long campaign to undermine the 2020 election and encourage violence among his supporters, blah, blah, blah. And then they go into the vote, which we've already talked about.
Let's try this clip. Let's try this clip here. See if there's about a minute 20 left. Let's hope.
Okay.
And was going to keep it shut down until the inauguration. So for him to get up there and make this indictment against the president, and then say, "But I can't vote for it because it's after the fact." The fact that he established that it could not be delivered before the inauguration. So he was hedging all over the place. Man. I don't know whether it was for donors or what. But whatever it was a very disingenuous speech. And I say that regretfully because I always want to be able to work with
Pelosi wearing the purple
the
too.
Other party. I think our country needs a strong Republican Party. It's very important. And for him to try to have it every which way. But we will be going forward to make sure that this never happens again in terms of what were to investigate.
She's out of breath, man.
It's a mask. It's a muzzle.
Both in terms of the motivation, but also in terms of the security that we have to have as we go forward, recognizing how inflaming even some of our elected.
Okay, yeah, too bad they didn't put that in there. But yeah, I'm sure if somebody sits through that thing, people can find it.
Yeah, that would be a great ISO to have. Okay, so there you go. Don't worry, folks. Don't think about it. Don't read about it. Don't investigate. Just let the Ministry of Truthiness establish facts for you. The reality czar is going to work.
The fact that they want a 9/11 style commission on this thing, to me, in my mind, it just shows it's more of an inside job. The insurrection was an inside job.
Well, they are making that repeated connection to 9/11 type commission, but the only need to use that kind of language is to compare it to a terrorist attack, because the 9/11 commission was not a special new type of commission. That was not, it's not a new invention, the 9/11 commission. There's been all sorts of commissions aimed at doing this exact thing for events throughout American history. But to call it a 9/11 type commission, they're trying to set in stone the connection that January 6th was specifically linguistically a terrorist attack rather than, the many other ways that it could be described that are less inflammatory and political.
Yes. And moving on here, there's a story, or no, it's not a story, it's a clip of our hairy legs friend.
Got hairy legs. Got hairy legs.
And it is it's concerning China.
Welcome to Chinese Show.
Oh,
Chinese leaders, if you know anything about Chinese history, it has always been the time when China has been victimized by the outer world.
What?
Is when they haven't been unified at home.
Huh?
So the central, to vastly overstated, the central principle of Xi Jinping is that there must be a united, tightly controlled China.
Yeah, fist bump.
And he uses his rationale for the things he does based on that.
What?
I point out to him, no American president can be sustained as a president if he doesn't reflect the values of the United States. And so the idea, I'm not going to speak out against what he's doing in Hong Kong, what he's doing with the Uyghurs in western mountains of China, and Taiwan trying to end the one China policy by making it forceful. I said, and by the way, he said he gets it. Culturally, there are different norms at each country, and their leaders are expected to follow.
What are you saying, Biden? You crazy man, hold on.
He's saying that genocide of Uyghurs and, hostile takeovers of independent countries and the persecution of religious and cultural minorities. Who are we to say that that's bad? He's just doing the best he can, and it's a cultural thing. Who are we to say the culture of genocide is bad?
I couldn't believe. I mean, how can any person that calls themselves a Democrat support this guy? I mean, it's ridiculous.
Or even liberal in any way. Or and
human.
That's the problem. That's where this, the extreme left and the extreme liberalism reverses back on itself. Of course, calling Trump literally Hitler and defending somebody who is literally doing what Hitler did, meaning the leader of China over there. So that is insane. And that does, we already know that Biden is all wrapped up in China in so many ways, but to be publicly on CNN, by the way, and this was yesterday on a CNN town hall, not just defending, defending is not even the right word, not just defending the genocide of the Uyghurs done by the Chinese Communist Party, but endorsing it almost.
Yeah, that's the part that's blowing my mind is like, usually politicians will just ignore a topic or just not say anything about it, or he mentions the Uyghurs. Like he actually mentions the one child.
The crazy part.
He lists
specific.
them off as like this thing. I'm not going to speak out again. I need to hear this again. Hold on.
President can be sustained as a president if he doesn't reflect the values of the United States. And so the idea, I'm not going to speak out against what he's doing in Hong Kong, what he's doing with the Uyghurs in western mountains of China, and Taiwan trying to end the one China policy by making it forceful. I said, and by the way, he said he gets it.
Of course he gets it. He's like, thank you for not criticizing our genocidal belief systems.
Yeah, he gets it. I'm not going to say that what he's doing is bad. He gets it. He knows that I totally endorse genocide. Wow, that's
unbelievable.
Incredible.
And he has that weird fist thing that he does at the beginning, where he's like holding out his fists about being unified. It's kind of commie to me.
Play it again.
Hold on, you got to be watching. You have to be watching to see it. But this is
Chinese leaders. If you know anything about Chinese history, it has always been the time when China has been victimized by the outer world is when they haven't been unified at home. So
Okay, hold on. What in the world is he saying? When China has been victimized by the outer world is when they're not unified at home.
That's
Who
double
is
speak.
Victimizing China.
That's
How
double
is China being victimized?
That's double speak for before China became the communist powerhouse that it is.
That's true.
They were not
That's
unified.
exactly what he's saying.
Yeah.
He's saying before they were communist, they would be victimized by outer powers.
Yeah.
This is crazy.
Like the Japanese.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is when they haven't been unified at home. So the central, to vastly overstated, the central principle of Xi Jinping is that there must be a united, tightly controlled.
Okay, united, tightly controlled China, and he's holding his fist out like he's about to fist bump somebody.
Uh-huh.
And I'm wondering if that's supposed to be the commie fist, but he's old, so he can't lift it up very high.
Commie fist. Yeah, wow.
It's just, I don't know, that's man. Crazy. This is
and unfortunately, I mean, this whole set and setting as well, him saying what he's saying, standing on the CNN town hall, giving this message to CNN listeners. Look, I've done my best to try to stay level-headed. I mean, not every Democrat is a communist. Not every Democrat, wants to, I don't know, get rid of borders. It just isn't. But this is not a good sign what he's doing here.
No, not at all. And to connect dots back to the beginning of the episode with China saying that they want to control the weather, and of course Texas having this weather situation happen, the energy grid situation of Texas being the only independent state from the federal energy grid and stuff like that. I don't know, man.
And this like victimized language he's talking about here is a very interesting, it kind of matches a lot of the, you get points for being a victim.
Yeah, of course.
You try to be a victim to as many people as possible, and then you get your social justice points.
Yeah, come on, man.
Yeah, this is a very interesting set of language, and this is abhorrent. It's crazy.
Yeah,
it's really crazy. I mean, there's no other word beside it. It's
insanity.
It's madness.
It's insanity. And you and I, we were kind of running through the show before we started, and we for some reason we thought like maybe this is an old clip or something that's circulating. Nope, it was a town hall from yesterday.
I was like, oh, this seems like something he would have said, in the past couple years. I didn't even know CNN was doing town halls. I mean, this is the president of the United States who is doing a town hall for CNN. I mean, who else does that? I mean, it's a one-man show. He gets his own one-man show on CNN.
Yeah. And
is CNN state-sponsored media now? I mean, this is exactly what I was kind of talking about. And it's unfortunate because even yesterday I was talking with somebody about how, I've been surprised by how much the media has not made Biden the golden boy, like as much as I was expecting.
Mm-hmm. We got time. We got time.
Yes, I know. Well, and that's the thing. Today, I'm eating my hat a little bit because, to give the president his own one-man show on CNN Town Hall to spout whatever nonsense, talking about how genocide is not a big deal and how China's so victimized when they're not communist. This is crazy.
This is absolute madness. And so this article here is the 6 takeaways from Joe Biden's CNN town hall. And I'm not going to even read the paragraphs, but I will give you the 6. Okay, so number 1, a hard deadline on vaccines. Ooh, yeah, because Trump failed with Operation Warp Speed.
Yeah, so nothing really new there, but okay, a hard deadline. So what is a hard deadline? A hard deadline for anybody who's been under a hard deadline is get it done by this moment or there are consequences.
Yeah.
What consequences could Biden possibly, and who's going to suffer those consequences?
And who's going to enforce those consequences?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's number 1. Number 2, clearing up the school reopening question, which is another, this is a topic that hasn't been discussed enough. And there's some groups in my local neck of the woods here in like LA County
That's not a
who are-
federally controlled.
No, it's
thing
not. It's
either.
not at all. But especially in California, in Los Angeles, the celebrities and stuff that are so against, or they speak up for the brown and black community, and they're so victimized and all this, they have been the most affected by not receiving education for a year.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's plenty of school programs that feed, 2 meals a day to some of these kids.
And not that the public school system is so great. It's not. It's horrible. But if you're gonna fight for the disenfranchised or whatever, why are they not doing it now in this situation where everything's locked down? These kids have been out of school for over a year now.
Because the elections are over.
Yeah, the elections are over. Yeah.
But
even still,
no
even
need to pander to minority communities if you already won the election.
And this one is egregious. Number 3, Biden as comforter in chief.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Okay.
What?
Let me I'll read a little bit of this.
Comforter in chief? I don't want a comforter in chief.
Yeah, I mean, this is blasphemous right here. I think that passage about not blaspheming the Holy Spirit, the comforter.
Well, there's certainly that angle too, but I wonder what, I mean.
Okay, so let me see what they say here.
Right.
Perhaps the biggest contrast between Biden and the man he replaced in office is empathy. Former President Donald Trump had none. Biden is all empathy.
Oh my gosh.
Wearing his heart on his sleeve.
Nobody cares.
The town hall format played to Biden's strength in that regard and proved a stark reminder of just how radically different Trump was from anyone who came before or after him in the office. Biden told several questioners to talk to him.
They can't talk about Biden they can't not talk about Trump.
Yeah, but the next number 4, the end of talking about Trump.
Yeah, right.
Biden did his best not to mention the former president by name.
Which is why we mentioned him a dozen times in this article.
Biden's preferred way to name Trump without naming him was to refer to the 45th president as, quote, the former guy.
Oh my gosh.
Welcome to Clown World, folks. This is out of control.
This is so bizarre.
Like, what is he? Voldemort? The name that shall not, the one who shall not be named?
Dude, I'm still stuck on comforter in chief.
Comforter in chief?
Oh, please. That is the scariest thing I've heard.
It is. Are they afraid that Trump is going to, I heard my name, here I come, coming back?
If that doesn't epitomize the grotesque softness that is triumphed in the American public, or at least what they hope would be triumphed in the American public. This, I don't like this at all.
Listen to this. Under that same number, the end of talking about Trump, he said, for 4 years, this is Biden speaking, quote, for 4 years, all that's been in the news is Trump. Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, thanks to you, CNN.
Yeah, thanks to you, CNN. The next 4 years, I want to make sure all the news is the American people, end quote. That line drew applause from the socially distanced audience. Ooh, yay. But Biden clearly believes is that the best way to deal with Trump is to rob him of the media oxygen he so badly craves.
Good luck.
Yeah, the less Biden talks about Trump, the less attention Trump gets. It's a solid theory, especially when you consider that Trump has been deplatformed from Twitter and Facebook. It's also the strategy that likely led Senate Democrats to back away from their move to call witnesses in Trump's impeachment trial last week. Oh, other than not having any real evidence or doctoring the evidence. It's just ridiculous. Number 5, a radical view on polarization. Okay, I don't even know what that means.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, I think just,
what is a radical view on polarization? What does that mean?
Despite study after study,
more radical than polarization already.
What's more radical than him saying, I'm not gonna I'm not going to say anything bad about communist China and all
Read
their
that
groups.
paragraph. I need to.
All
What
right.
does radical view on polarization mean?
Despite hyperlinked study after hyperlinked study, both of which leads to Columbia Review and the Gallup poll, that shows that both Congress and the nation as a whole are more deeply divided along party lines than ever before, Biden insisted that we're not. Quote, "The nation is not divided," he argued. "You have fringes on both ends." Okay. How is that even a sentence in an article?
Just keep going.
I know that Biden believes that things will return to normal the longer we get from Trump being president, and that he is uniquely situated to make bipartisanship a thing again. He campaigned on it, and he believes he won, at least in part, on that message. Maybe! Exclamation point. But there's very, very little evidence so far in his terms, and yes, of course, it's early, that suggests the Republican Party's elected officials are ready to renounce their Trumpy ways.
Of course, it's the Republicans' fault that Biden's not being bipartisan.
And there's even less evidence that the GOP base wants anything other than Trump. A Quinnipiac University poll, is that from Canada? Anyway.
Sounds like it.
Released earlier on Tuesday, showed that 75% of Republicans want Trump to play a, quote, prominent role in the party. All right.
Okay.
And then number 6, a rambling man. Biden spent decades in the Senate prior to being chosen by former President Barack Obama to serve as vice president, and it showed on Tuesday night as Biden gave long and winded answers to a number of questions posed, especially when it came to race and policing, as well as how his administration would set policy in regard to China. In some cases, he delved deep into policy. In other cases, his answers were harder to follow. All right, CNN. While Biden repeatedly apologized for going on too long in his answers, it never really stopped him from going on and on. It sounds like CNN is...
So they're saying that his conversation on China, so instead of reporting that he said genocide was okay and that China is better when it's communist, and that its attitudes towards violently taking over Hong Kong and Tibet and Taiwan, instead of reporting on Biden saying all that was super cool, their response is, "Oh, it was kind of hard to understand what he was saying, and he said a lot, so that's all. We don't know anything more than that."
Yeah, CNN reporting on its own town hall.
On its own town hall, instead of reporting the words of the president when he was saying genocide is fine. It's just their culture. Who are we to question their culture of genocide? They avoid reporting that by saying, "Oh, he just rambled. Who knows? Who even knows? Don't even bother listening to it."
And I like how at the top of the page, it says, analysis by Chris Cillizza, CNN editor at large.
This is outrageous. What is this guy's name? I'm going to find him on Twitter.
Chris Cillizza.
I can't stop myself. The freight train is moving, folks. I'm going to find this man.
Oh, he looks like he's a bag full of joy.
What's his name?
Chris Cillizza, Cillizza. Or I guess you can call him Chillizza, like or Shillizza, you know.
How is it spelled?
Cillii.
C-I.
Yeah, Cillizza, like pizza, but it's a chill or shill.
Wow,
Shillizza or Godzilla.
Shillizza, okay.
I don't know.
Chris Shillizza. Wow. Whoa. The Point with Chris. Oh, he's got a podcast. Good.
Podcast.
I have to listen to that. Okay.
See his Twitter.
I have a YouTube show. Oh my gosh.
Oh,
okay, Chris.
Oh wait, his Twitter no longer exists.
I'm on it.
Really?
Chris Shillizza, CNN. I have a YouTube show at Chris Shillizza.
Oh, I guess I'm not logged in, so maybe that's why I can't see it.
Yeah. Oh, he's got an Instagram.
Oh, yay.
Yay.
What did the Shillizza eat this morning? some
I
shill
was gonna
pizza.
say we can see his.
All right.
He's been listening to Craig Finn.
Excellent.
Okay. Oh my gosh, this is outrageous. All right, let's move on.
State-sponsored propaganda machinery.
That's what this guy is. Shillzilla or Shilliza, whatever.
Shillzilla.
Shillzilla.
Ooh, that's it.
Shillzilla.
Shillzilla.
Hey, we got someone to follow now, see what he's up to.
We got to keep an eye on this guy. This is ridiculous.
Keep an eye on that Shillzilla. All right,
I got a
CRISPR
quick
story.
thing here. What?
CRISPR.
Oh wait, did I forget something? I did forget
yeah,
something. Yeah.
Here, we got this quick one from Business
sorry.
Journal here.
Wrong jingle.
California-
Hold on, wait.
Oh.
Let me play the jingle. Oh wait, did I get rid of the jingle? It's supposed to
culture?
be. It's supposed to be cancel culture. Yeah. I don't have it.
Ah, nuts.
Yeah. I
I forget how that one goes.
It goes.
Hashtag cancel culture.
There it is.
There it is.
BusinessJournal.com. A California senator has introduced legislation billed as an anti-discrimination package to fight cancel culture. Senator Melissa Melendez, Republican from Lake Elsinore, is the author of Senate Bill 238, known as the Diversity of Thought Act. Ooh. The bill aims to amend the Fair Employment and Housing Act in the government code by adding political affiliation as a protected class under California's anti-discrimination laws. If enacted, the bill protects California residents from discrimination when seeking employment opportunities or housing based on political affiliation, according to a news release. Senate Bill 249 amends the Education Code, including political affiliation, to prohibit discrimination, harassment, intimidation, and bullying in schools. The package affirms Californians are supported in their right to open dialogue and diversity of thought. Quote, cancel culture and the efforts to silence differing opinions and voices should be a growing concern for all of us, stated Melendez. Quote, a climate of intolerance has been established and has stifled healthy and normal debate. Anyone who values their own freedom of speech should be concerned. This cannot and should not be allowed to continue. Wow, a second of good news. Thank you very much, Melissa Melendez. So, yeah, there you go. This is a bill to amend a couple different pieces of legislation to include political affiliation to things that cannot be discriminated against, which you would have thought was already a thing.
That was my takeaway.
Somehow is not a thing already, which is crazy.
That was my takeaway is like, oh, in other words, enforce the Constitution?
Right.
So let's more bureaucracy to make sure we're enforcing the Constitution, which already should have been enforced or should be understood as something that all Americans are under.
Well, it shows how crazy the times are where it didn't need to be specifically stated that you couldn't discriminate on political affiliation, which has been a topic of legislation for 100 years. I mean,
right.
This is crazy. So anyways, there you go. You got somebody with their head on their shoulders over there in California.
I'm telling you, California is a red state. People don't. The controllers.
It seems more and more like that.
I really do think it's a red state, and all the blue people moved to Texas.
Yeah, I mean the blue parts of California or San Francisco and L.A. Those areas, which of course had most of the population. But there's huge parts of California who are conservative politically.
Yeah,
and so finally those folks get some protection,
Yeah, most of the landmass.
You can't refuse to bake a cake with Trump's face on it anymore in California.
I know. Yeah, I'm really hoping the Newsom thing goes through. We got enough signatures here. So if they drop Newsom.
What's the update on that?
Yeah, well, there's enough signatures for it to move forward. We'll see kind of what comes out of it, but I think there's still a few more weeks before the end of the period of time to get signatures. And I think they're going to need to get closer to 2 million because maybe there's some signatures that get falsified or whatever.
A lot of them were fake. Yeah.
Yeah. But who replaces Newsom is a bigger deal, too. There's a guy from San Diego, I think he's a Republican, that cleaned up homelessness in San Diego, and he made tents, like living in tents on the street, like on beaches and stuff, illegal in San Diego, which if he does that statewide, I mean, can you imagine what would happen to all the beaches with all the tents?
Was it targeted at homeless, or was this like
it was because San Diego's having a problem with homelessness before, and this guy basically came in and cleaned it up. So
was this a Republican or a Democrat?
I think he was a Republican. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds like it.
Yeah, but we'll see. We'll see how that goes.
All right. Tell me about CRISPR.
CRISPR. Cas9.
This is scientificamerican.com. I was pleasantly surprised with this article. It's always good to see some objective approaches to CRISPR. The title of the article is The Dark Side of CRISPR. Of course, you're only going to find it in the opinion section here. Subheadline, its potential ability to quote-unquote fix people at the genetic level is a threat to those who are judged by society to be biologically inferior.
Ooh.
And it says here, Americans have celebrated the fact that the Biden administration is embracing science and returning the country to evidence-based policymaking. Was it ever really that? But okay.
Yeah, no, I mean, explicitly not.
Yeah. We agree that science should be we agree that science should guide policy. No, we don't. Except in cases where it wouldn't assist people to live their lives, but would instead exclude them. You mean like a scientific dictatorship?
Yeah.
CRISPR-Cas9.
Again, they're mixing up science and scientism here.
Yeah, they are.
Nothing wrong with science-based policy, but there's problems with scientism-based policy.
Science is truth.
Yeah, that kind of thinking.
Yeah.
The CRISPR-Cas9 gene editing technology, for which biochemist Jennifer Doudna and Emmanuel Carpentier won the Nobel Prize in Chemistry, has the potential to do just that. So do other forms of scientific technologies. We should therefore always be aware of the ethical choices these technologies can pose. In the case of CRISPR, those choices are complex. CRISPR has many functions. One of these is that it can be used to treat disease. Yet, the far-reaching, more fraught promise of this technology, one about which scientists seem at once excited and cautious, lies in its ability to eliminate from the gene pool what medical science identifies as faulty or abnormal genes that cause difference in individual people. Certainly, goes the logic of CRISPR's promise, the goal of ridding future generations of terrible disease that cause suffering and death and deplete resources seems an unquestionable enterprise. But Doudna herself has recognized that CRISPR carries with it great risk. In a New York Times interview on October 22nd, 2020, she warned of the unknown consequences of embryo editing, cautioning researchers to wait to use CRISPR for those ends. As disability studies scholars and women with genetic differences who are experts in thinking about the consequences this technology will have for actual human beings, we have grave worries that the use of these, quote, genetic scissors will, in the future, cut people like us out of existence without others even noticing. Scientists who use CRISPR could see editing genes such as ours out of the gene pools as entirely uncontroversial. This attitude, in fact, will be consistent with wider societal views. The idea that ridding society of genetic differences that count as disease or deficit is an undeniable, quote, good, continues to be pervasive in our society. Americans generally see no problem with editing genes linked to broad swaths of people like us. After all, supporters of this view may argue editing out a gene-linked condition is different from editing out a person, and curing disease is an indisputably good thing. But our genetic conditions are not simply entities that can be clipped away from us as if they were some kind of misspelled word or an awkward sentence in a document. We are whole beings, with our genetic conditions forming a fundamental part of who we are. Still, many Americans, including medical providers and even some people with genetic differences, consider lives such as ours as not worth living as they are. Further, the common belief that ridding disease and anomaly from society is an incontrovertible good can lead very quickly from the actual possibilities of science to fantasies of, quote, improving humanity, where we would all become some aspirational version of personhood that is somehow better, stronger, and smarter, and healthier.
Better, bigger, tastier.
But CRISPR's tantalizing offer to achieve the supposedly best kind of people at the genetic level is an uneasy alert to those who are often judged to be biologically inferior. One we know all too well, people like us, whose being is inseparable from our genetic condition, would be the first to go. We both have genetic conditions that many people consider serious enough to eliminate from the human gene pool. One of us lives with cystic fibrosis, CF, and the other a form of syndactyly. Oh, I'm probably pronouncing that thing really wrong. Let me see if I can.
Syndactyly.
Syndactyly.
Yeah.
Both of these conditions have shaped our bodies and our lives. Sandy's affected lungs require several hours of treatment each day, and Rosemary's affected hand limits her manual dexterity. We are among the 1 billion people in the world, 15% of the population, and 61 million people in the United States, 26% of all adults, who are considered disabled. We are among the 10% of all adults who have genetic conditions. Because we were born with our conditions, we have benefited from learning early on how to live with the characteristics of our particular genetic distinctiveness. Our supportive families saw it that we accessed good health care and received education suitable to our talents and interests. Improved medical treatment, social progress, and political equity movements raised our quality of life in ways that people like us and generations prior to ours could not have imagined. When Sandy was born in 1967, people with CF had an average life expectancy of 15, but during 1970 to 1990, life expectancy doubled due to new medical therapies. Today's average life expectancy is 44, but with novel medicines called cystic fibrosis transmembrane conductive regulator, CFTR modulators, people with CF are expected to live even longer with fewer hospitalizations. These transformations in life expectancy attest to the changing nature of prognosis, one for which CRISPR editing cannot account. When Rosemary was born in the late 1940s, people with physical disabilities like hers were often institutionalized and led limited lives far from the support of their families. At the time, only 1 in 5 children with disabilities were educated in public schools with non-disabled children. Physically disabled children were most often sent to segregated schools where they received inferior education. With the Education for All Act of 1975, now the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, IDEA. However, the federal government guaranteed public education and services for all children with disabilities, thus changing their life trajectories. We learned to thrive with the bodies we have and possess identities and lives that include our genetic diagnostic categories, but also go beyond them. Yet, stubborn beliefs about good genes and bad genes nonetheless persist in discriminatory attitudes that affect us both. When Rosemary was pregnant with her first child, the obstetrician assumed that her major concern was that the baby would have hands and arms like its mother, even though Rosemary's biggest concern was finding a good childcare situation that would complement her job responsibilities. When Sandy considered having a biological child, friends and medical providers questioned her decision to consider pregnancy because that meant passing on one copy of her cystic fibrosis gene to a future child. This imagined child would not have had the disease since her husband is not a carrier of CF. But some of those in Sandy's circle still believed pregnancy advisable because to them, producing a child who would carry the CF gene was equally undesirable. Sandy called out their assumptions that her condition...
Great eugenics talk here.
It is. Sandy called out their assumption that her condition was inherently inferior, a point they took as self-evident despite the fact that an estimated 24% of people worldwide are carriers of genetic conditions. I know it's long, but we'll get to it. These stories also reveal an enduring ideology about the inextricable cultural link among disability, reproduction, and suffering. They illustrate the subtle yet insidious idea that some genes are inherently bad and contaminate the human gene pool. As such, people who carry them should not propagate and pass those genes onto their progeny so as to make those children either carriers or affected. These ideas also expose an even deeper ableist assumption that people with supposedly, quote, bad genes fundamentally suffer and hold a less valuable place in society than others. This isn't to say people with genetic conditions don't suffer, but we don't necessarily suffer all the time, and we don't necessarily suffer any more than other people without such conditions. Yet, the cultural impulse to assume that people with genetic variations are in a constant state of suffering and that it blights our lives is so pervasive that it is even internalized by some with genetic conditions themselves. You know, speaking to the eugenics propaganda, I think that has really gone mainstream. Yeah. Such genetic determinism is a new form of eugenic thinking, grounded in what the communication studies scholar James L. Cherney calls, quote, common sense ableism, a belief system that allows people to simultaneously deny any commitment to distasteful eugenic principles while also holding them up. Common sense ableism permits, even encourages, such injurious attitudes. Utilizing genome manipulation tools and performing genetic selection is tantamount to engaging in what Rosemary calls velvet eugenics, enforced by laissez-faire commercialism rather than by the state. Velvet eugenics seems like common sense, yet it hides its violence and inequality behind claims of patient autonomy and under a veil of voluntary consent. Ultimately, market-driven velvet eugenics embodies a similar goal of purging unacceptable human variations that campaigns to eliminate the supposedly unfit and inferior have held in the past. Both enact a mandate to exclude people with disabilities from coming into the world. I'll just end it there because it's long here. I'll read the last paragraph. Genome editing is powerful, scientific technology that can reshape medical treatment in people's lives, but it can also harmfully reduce human diversity and increase social inequality by editing out the kinds of people that medical science and the society it has shaped categorize as diseased or genetically contaminated. People like us who are understood as having bad genes. But we should be reminded that bad genes don't necessarily lead to bad lives, just as good genes don't necessarily lead to good lives. As CRISPR is put to use to eliminate rather than to treat genetic differences, we as a society would essentially instrumentalize this moralistic and reductionist assumption. So, yeah, Scientific American, of course, again, it's in the policy and ethics opinion section, but calling out what we've been saying about CRISPR this whole time, that while the technologies are great in healing and restoring and stuff like that, the greater dangers are how it's going to... Or they hope
it to be. I mean, it's not even there yet.
No, it's not.
That's the essence of, that's the sales pitch.
Right. But I it's just getting to the point where I think normal folks here are recognizing the dark side of it. And so, the darker side
of
velvet
eugenics. That's an interesting, it's a fun term.
Yeah. Something that I think we can push out there into the public awareness as part of what CRISPR is. If you think about, again, the logical ends of what this technology aims to do. So I was, a moment of pride for Scientific American to go ahead and publish this article.
Yeah, at least it's not the usual CRISPR will save us all and stop asking questions, you crazy conspiracy theorist.
Yeah, at least it's that. It's some progress.
At the very least. Yeah. Well, that's good. And on the topic of science and biology here, I've got the story from BaltimoreSun.com. The headline.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay.
Did you ever have the feeling that you were being watched?
The headline, scientists want to create a surveillance system to spot new viruses before they cause pandemics.
Oh, what can go wrong?
Yeah, of course, this is nothing new. We've been following all sort of viral surveillance for a year now. But let's see where we're at with the movement. Back in the summer, Dr. Michael Mina made a deal with a cold storage company. With many of its restaurant clients closed down, the firm had freezers to spare. And Mina, a public health researcher at the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health, had 500,000 vials of plasma from human blood coming to his lab from across the country, samples dating back to the carefree days of January 2020. The vials, now in 3 hulking freezers outside Mina's lab, are at the center of a pilot project for what he and his collaborators call the Global Immunological Observatory. They envision an immense surveillance system that can check blood from all over the world for presence of antibodies to hundreds of viruses at once. That way, when the next pandemic washes over us, scientists will have detailed real-time information on how many people have been infected by the virus and how their bodies respond.
Notice how they, before you go on, notice how they assume that there's already going to be another pandemic.
Oh, yeah.
That way, when the next pandemic washes over us,
yeah,
not if, but
they're
when.
in the Bill Gates newsletter here.
Yeah.
It might even offer some early notice, like a tornado warning, although this monitoring system will not be able to detect new viruses or variants directly. It could show when large numbers of people start acquiring immunity to a particular kind of virus. The human immune system keeps a record of pathogens it has met before in the form of antibodies that fight against them and then stick around for life. By testing for these antibodies, scientists can get a snapshot of which flu viruses you have had, what rhinovirus was that breezed through you last fall, even whether you had a respiratory syncytial virus as a child.
Let's hear it.
Syncytial.
Okay.
Okay. Even if an infection never made you sick, it would still be picked up by this diagnostic method called serological testing. Quote, we're all like little recorders keeping track of viruses without realizing it, Mina said. Spotting patterns. This type of readout from the immune system is different from a test that looks for an active viral infection. The immune system starts to produce antibodies. I'm going to skip this part. It just explains how they find antibodies in blood. The observatory would require agreements with hospitals, blood banks, and other sources of blood, as well as a system for acquiring consent from patients and donors. It also faces the problem of financing, noted Alex Grinninger, a virus expert at the University of Washington. Health insurance companies would be unlikely to foot the bill, since serology tests are usually not used by doctors to treat people. Mina estimated that the observatory would cost about $100 million to get off the ground. He pointed out that according to his calculations, the federal government has allocated more than twice that much to diagnostics company Ellume to produce enough rapid COVID tests to cover the American demand for only a handful of days. A pathogen observatory, he said, is like a weather forecasting system that draws on vast number of buoys and sensors around the globe, passively reporting on events where and when they arise. These systems have been funded by government grants and are widely valued. The predictive power of serology is worth the investment, said Jessica Metcalf, and public health researchers at Princeton, and one of the observatory team members. A few years ago, she and her collaborators found in a smaller survey that immunity to measles was ominously low in Madagascar. Indeed, in 2018, an outbreak took hold, killing more than 10,000 children. Now, 500,000 plasma samples in Mina's freezers collected by plasma donation company Octopharma. Ooh,
I know, that sounds like the worst company.
Octopharma.
Who
Sounds
came
like
up
an
with
Avengers
that?
villain.
Yeah, I know.
Octopharma from sites around the country last year are starting to undergo serological tests focused on the new coronavirus, funded by a $2 million grant from Open Philanthropy. Testing had to wait for the researchers to set up a new robotic testing facility and process the samples, but now they are working through their first batches. The team hopes to use this data to show how the virus flowed into the United States week by week and how immunity to COVID has grown and changed. They hope it will spark interest in using serology to illuminate the movement of many more viruses. Quote, the big idea is to show the world that you don't have to spend huge dollars to do this kind of work, Mina said. We should have this happening all the time. So to recap, what they want to do here is receive blood and plasma samples from all over the world in sort of a constant way.
Yeah.
And then test them to see what kind of antibodies are popping up to be able to track diseases across the world. Which sounds like an okay idea, I guess. However, it's interesting because these blood samples, they, as they mentioned in the article, are just being drawn in the normal sort of way. Like if you donate blood or if blood is drawn at a lab or at a hospital, then you can consent to have these samples sent off to this observatory. But the problem is, I find an issue with how much warning exactly does this give you? In the case of coronavirus, it took a month. I'll just give it, we'll say 2 months from the first signs of the coronavirus to like full on pandemic. And
alleged.
How many of those people who were sick donated blood at the time? If you're sick with the flu or with a coronavirus, you're not running into testable. You're not going in to donate blood. You might get some blood, taken at the doctors at the hospital. If you're like really, you're in a really serious situation. But that's only if you get hospitalized. And how many people, most people don't even get hospitalized for the coronavirus, much less the flu. So, I think this is an interesting idea, but it just doesn't make sense. Like you don't get enough forewarning. It's more of a hindsight tool. And it's just another way to surveil the human population under the guise of safety. And how safe would this actually make you?
I think that the people running this
He's a Satanist.
are Satanists that drink blood. They're vampires, and they just want a larger collection of blood because they're all stoked about having.
That's certainly been in the movies.
Yeah, I mean,
your blood donations, and I think we've touched upon it in the past. I don't know if we've done a full rundown of it, although now that I'm saying this, I remember going into it. The blood donation system, it is really corrupt and pretty screwed up.
Yeah.
It was something like if you go and donate blood, you go to the truck is outside your work or something like that. You go to a clinic, and it's all done under the guise of like, be a good person, save a life, donate your blood and you'll save a baby. But the reality of the blood market, it's literally a blood market, is when I think they figured it out, and I don't have the exact numbers on me. This has been a couple of years since we reported on this, but it's something like if you go donate a liter of blood, it is not just passed along like a dozen times, it's actually sold back and forth like 6 or 7 times before it actually makes it into a patient. So it's, they have this PR, this front facing thing where, oh, you donate blood and then you save a kid's life. When in reality, it's you donate blood to a company and then it gets sold like 5 other times and people are profiting off of your donation of blood until maybe it gets used to save somebody's life. But the big punchline to this whole thing was that most of the blood just gets poured out. It doesn't even get used most of the time.
Poured out.
Yeah, they just
quote
dispose of pour it
put
out
in
into
a giant
the vampire's gullet.
Yeah.
Yes. So there you go. And this is, I've ever since that, I forget who did, there was some investigative reporter that blew this open. And I forget who it was. I'd like to give them credit, but I can't. But since then I've been so sketched out by the literal blood market, and this just seems like another side of that, just another business in the blood industry, claiming that they're going to save the world with their blood observatory. But I'm very skeptical. Now, if I'm willing to have somebody explain this to me a little better and how this might actually be effective, but the way I see it, I don't think this. I mean, there's a great hindsight tool, but I don't think this will help actually catch a pandemic before it happens.
Yeah, and just I did a quick search for Octopharma. Mm-hmm. I don't think there's. I think it's a typo. I think it's Octapharma. There is an Octapharma. I think it was Octapharma in the. It's
Octo
OCTO Pharma, but the actual company is Octa OCTA Pharma, found in 1983. Is named Octapharma because octa is derived from the Greek word for 8, named after the factor which is deficient in hemophilia A patients, and that was their inaugural product. It was a factor 8 concentrate that was used to help out those folks. So, I mean, it's a hematology blood. It's one of the largest human protein manufacturers in the world, developing and producing human proteins from human plasma and human cell lines. So, and they're a Swiss company. So,
the Swiss.
Yeah, the Swiss. But yeah, I agree with you. I don't think this is, again, it's just one of those, hey, just some blood bank people are like, hey, we can really leverage this pandemic to increase our blood bank and our funding.
Right. It's another business to get started. It's in the pandemic business to get, again, in the article, they mentioned, there's all this money being given to other companies to fight the thing. How can we get some of that money? Yeah. I mean, it's a business model to pick to start a business specifically based on what the government is willing to give you money for. And, I don't know. I don't want to be too cynical about it. If indeed that this could help something, that would be great. But I am not following exactly how it could be the utmost help for taxpayer dollars to go to.
Yeah, just use Cerebro, bro. You don't need everyone's blood.
You've been watching X-Men again, haven't you?
Yeah, I've been catching up.
Cerebro won't solve everything, Gonz. We've gone over this.
Okay, just real quick. All right, I have a problem with a lot of these like Marvel movies and whatnot, because obviously the good guys always win. Well, I mean, other than like Thanos doing his thing, but okay. So I was watching X-Men Apocalypse the other night. And lots of biblical or antichrist type of stuff in there. I wanted to clip some stuff that I'll bring as jingles later on. But like at the very end, Professor X is getting beat up by the what's his name, and he unleashes Jean, to do her Phoenix thing. And my whole thing is like, why doesn't she do that from the beginning? For those of you who don't know, Jean, what's her name? Jean Grey. She's able to turn into. She has this like this crazy mutant power or whatever, and at the very end, right as they're about to die, she unleashes her superpower. It's like why couldn't you just do that from the beginning? Then we wouldn't have to be in this mess.
Well, it's like Lord of the Rings. Why did they have to go through this big journey for Frodo to walk to Mordor when he could have just ridden a giant eagle?
I know. Man,
come on, Hollywood, try again.
Okay.
Speaking of which, I guess I'll mention it on the show here. I was watching Avengers. I was catching up on my Avengers. I was watching Age of Ultron, which I realized I had never actually seen. I skipped that.
Oh, really?
One. Yeah.
We've been playing the part of the jingle from Age of Ultron for years,
and the Noah, the clip that we end the show on,
The human race will have every opportunity to improve.
And if they don't?
Ask Noah.
You've been repeating Ask Noah like hundreds of times by now.
I had no idea what that was from, and I was watching that movie, and it got to that part, and it freaked my bean, man. Freaked my bean.
Freaked your bean. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, just a little side thing there. We'll do our WandaVision breakdown next week.
Oh yeah, WandaVision. Oh yeah, that's why I was watching Age of Ultron, because I was like, who are these people?
Yeah, it's the X-Men and the Avengers universes colliding.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, okay.
All right. So real quick here.
Quantum computers.
Quantum wokeness. This is MirageNews.com. Black quantum futurism wins this year's Collide Residency Award. And this is this is a CERN update. We haven't had a lot of those recently, but every year we've noticed that CERN, the cutting edge of science, is really using art as a vehicle to try to reach people. And this is no different here. Following an international open call launched in October last year, Arts at CERN has announced the winner of the Collide Residency Award. Black Quantum Futurism, a collective, Basil, based in Philadelphia, U.S., will first complete a 2-month residency at CERN, followed by 1 month in Barcelona at the Hanger Center for Art Research and Production in connection with the city's scientific laboratories. Black Quantum Futurism is a multidisciplinary collaboration between the artists Kame Aiwa and Rashida Phillips. The duo explores the intersections of futurism, creative media, DIY aesthetics, and activism in marginalized communities through an alternative temporal lens. Their work focuses on personal, cultural, familial, and communal cycles of experience, and their expression methods range from writing, music, and film to visual art and creative research projects.
Yeah.
We should start referring to ourselves as the collective. You and I are the Canary Cry Collective.
Yeah, that'll be our the Canary Cry Co-op. That'll be our grocery store. Interesting term there, the alternative temporal lens. This is Afrofuturism, which we've talked about in the years that we've been doing this show, which is a fascinating sort of category of art. And this phrase, let's see here, let me get it, DIY aesthetics and activism in marginalized communities through an alternative temporal lens. So it's this sort of alternative historical category of art that imagines Afro people or people of African descent in sort of sci-fi futuristic leadership roles, kind of like Black Panther type stuff.
Right. And for some reason, the website isn't working on my browser right now, but you go to their website and you can see some of their art pieces. And, I'm not gonna sit here and judge the artwork per se.
Oh, everybody's a critic, aren't they, Gonz?
Everybody's a critic. I get it. And it's it's got the urban vibe or whatever.
Urban vibe. It's the whitest thing you've ever said.
But here's the thing. When it comes to art, it's, I get it. It's subjective. It's cultural. There's lots of different layers to artwork. But there is something to be said about like technical prowess. Certain things are harder to pull off than others. And I just wasn't impressed by the artwork. I thought it was because I was expecting like, black quantum futurism. Like, what kind of crazy artwork are they going to have? And I was just kind of like,
Well, it's the DIY aesthetic, Gonz. They said it right there.
I know, it just doesn't do it for me, I guess. I don't know.
Okay. Well,
like I've seen.
That's too bad. You're so racist.
I know, I'm so racist. No, my point being is that I've actually, like, there's been like street. So I'm feeling really like conscious about the words I use. No, just like street paintings. What are they called? Graffiti artists that are just way more talented than some of the stuff I was seeing from the black quantum futurism.
Gonz, we're never gonna get our invite to CERN if you keep bashing their art projects.
Okay. All right, I'll stop. So anyway, woke CERN.
Woke CERN.
I wish they would have picked anyway. All right, so yeah, what's next here? We got a little Space Pope Reptilian.
Let's talk
update.
about the Pope real quick.
Space Pope Reptilian.
It's coming from abcnews.go.com. Pope again updates Vatican legal code amid scrutiny. Probes. Pope. I just read it.
I don't like the way you said that.
I just read it. Pope Francis has made another set of changes to the Vatican City State's legal code, which has come under heightened scrutiny and criticism as Vatican prosecutors seek to crack down on financial crimes and mismanagement by the Holy See Monsignors and money managers. In a new law published Tuesday, Francis made 2 modifications to criminal trial procedures when defendants don't show up, one of which allows their lawyers to defend them fully, even in absentia. Interesting. So this law changes it so defendants can be defended easier.
Yeah.
The change could be seen as necessary given an ongoing investigation into a Vatican real estate investment. The probe has implicated Italian nationals who, if the case goes to trial, may decide to not step foot in the city-state's tribunal given the risk of possible arrest. In another reform, Francis consolidated the prosecutor's office, making clear that all stages of appeal will be prosecuted from within their ranks. Recently, Francis appointed an expert in Italian labor law, Katia Sumaria, as the new chief prosecutor for the Vatican Appeals Court, and named 2 new appeals judges in a sign that the Vatican might be anticipating a growing appeals caseload. In the absolute monarchy of the Vatican, the Pope is supreme legislator, executive, and judge. That's interesting. I guess I never really considered that. Over the years, popes have made piecemeal modifications to the Vatican City's state legal code, which dates from an 1889 Italian code no longer in use and also draws from the Catholic Church's in-house canon law. The code's most recent overhaul has been a series of reforms focusing on punishing financial crimes. Interesting how they had to wait until they were being financially impacted by criminals.
Of course.
And they didn't do this, when all their priests were being prosecuted or attempted or weren't being prosecuted, rather, for sex crimes. Defense lawyers say the Vatican Code still contains grave limits to the rights of defendants, particularly in the investigative phase, during which the defense has no rights to seek case documentation and the prosecutors have near free rein to gather evidence that can be used at trial. Vatican prosecutors have defended the system, saying the rights of the defense are guaranteed, including in the, quote, summary right that is being used in the investigation into the Vatican's London real estate investment. The prosecutor said in a statement to the Associated Press last month that the summary right, which doesn't foresee a judge overseeing the probe, was necessary given the 1960 abolition of the special court that previously handled serious crimes. Prosecutors said they themselves ensure the extra procedural guarantees for the defense are being respected. That's funny. So the prosecutors are responsible for making sure the defense has their rights. This would not want to be in the Vatican court as a defendant.
Yeah.
Italian Daily Il Foglio and other Italian media have run a series of reports and analysis in recent weeks that have been highly critical of the Vatican legal system and question the independence of the tribunal. In the new law Tuesday on the prosecutor's office, Francis wrote that the prosecutors act with autonomy and independence. So there you go. Pope Francis shaking it up with his monarchical legal system over there.
Yeah. You forget that he's like the ruler of the land there in Vatican City. He could do whatever he wants. Mm-hmm. There's interesting chess moves there to protect the finances of the Vatican, despite all the criminals.
The beast system continues, not just in the Vatican. I mean, the interesting part of this is not that the Vatican is special in any way, but that they are exactly the same in that they won't, they don't take action or change laws until it directly financially affects the state, much like any other country in the world.
Hit him where it hurts.
Yeah.
The purse. I wonder if he carries a purse or a wallet. Does the Pope have a wallet?
Oh,
He wears that big robe.
So.
So, does he have a... Ooh, it would be fantastic if he takes off the robe and he has a fanny pack.
I wonder if the Pope has to pay for his own snacks at the snack bar.
Oh, yeah.
Because that was a thing we learned during the January 6th event was, all the Congress people had to pay for their own snacks.
Yeah, somebody was making money off those vending machines.
I'd hate to see the premium put on granola bars in the Congress vending machine.
Yeah. All right, so there you go. We got one more story here. It's a bittersweet Nephilim update. This is legacy.com, and we'll get to it here. Bernie Halverson Jr., 1946 to 2021. Halverson Bernard A. Jr., or Bernie of Linwood, was welcomed into the kingdom of heaven on February 4th, 2021. Bernie was born August 24th, 1946 in Chicago, Illinois, and moved to the South Jersey area when he was 18 years old, where he met the love of his life, Susan Skull. They were married 42 years until her death in 2014. Bernie started his career at South Jersey Gas Company, where he worked for 27 years until his retirement. He was a volunteer firefighter for many years on the Linwood Fire Department. Bernie loved people and especially loved sharing God's word with everyone he met. Nothing could make Bernie happier than when he led people to the Lord. He had the gift of always giving of himself, whether it was a listening ear, a helping hand, or just being there for someone in need. Known as a prayer warrior, he would pray on the spot for anyone and everyone. Bernie was a great storyteller. He loved to talk about everything and had a fascination for the unusual, such as Flat Earth, WWE, Bigfoot, and the Nephilim.
Well done, thou good and faithful servant.
There you go. So Bernie's home.
Okay.
And he was a believer that shared the gospel with people, and Flat Earth, WWE, Nephilim, Bigfoot, just to name a few things he was into. I wanted to hang out with this guy.
Sounds like a cool guy, man.
Yeah. I mean, I love how the Flat Earth, Nephilim, Bigfoot, that's kind of like, that can be one thing, but then WWE, just throw that in there to really...
He's a man of many interests.
Yeah, I wish I had my slap into a Slim Jim clip there to really just bring it home for Bernie, but... Yep, there you go.
Okay, well, I think that's it, right?
That's it, yep.
Okay.
It does it for 301.
Well, thank you, everybody, for tuning in to this episode of Canary Cry News Talk, episode 301. We just keep going. We're going to be circling back on Friday, the 19th of February, so put it on your calendar. Make sure to turn on notifications. If you haven't done it yet, please go ahead and like this video if you're over on YouTube, and make sure to subscribe and all those cool things.
Like, subscribe, bell button, all. Like, subscribe, bell button, all.
There you go. Never hurts to be reminded. And speaking of which, when we come back on Friday the 19th, we will be thanking more producers. So if you've been thinking about becoming a producer of the show, remember, we can only keep doing the show if y'all keep producing it. And that's the deal we have. And thank you to all of our producers for today's show, episode 301. That's producers Nancy, Aaron, Michelle, Kyle, Raymond, Saul, and Timothy, and David. Thank you so much. I want to thank all of our artists as well. And again, thank you to Jade Bouncerson for the timestamps. We appreciate that very much. Now, remember, the Canary Cry Silver Giveaway is still going on, folks. So make sure to post on your social media, share an episode of the show, use hashtag Canary Cry News Talk, and let people know that that's what they got to be listening to. And you will be entered into the drawing to win a silver coin, 1 ounce silver coin. Thank you to producer Aaron Moffat for making that available to us. Okay. Let's see here. What else do we do? You can also support the show with your time and your talent. If you're an artist or a graphic designer or whatever you do, you can create something related to the show. Send it in to canarycryradio@gmail.com or canarycryradio@protonmail.com if you like your privacy. Do that. We'll feature it on the show. Also, to our musicians, you can create jingles, create music, songs. Make sure to catch the Canary Cry mixtape at the end of the show. It's chock-a-block full of music created by our producers for and about the show. You're going to love it, so stick around for that. But yes, if you want to create jingles or music or anything, send that in to canarycryradio@gmail.com or canarycryradio@protonmail.com. There you go. Remember to leave ratings and reviews. Friday, I'm going to be reading some ratings and reviews for the show. So if you haven't done it yet, that helps a whole lot, folks. I know it seems burdensome for us to ask every week, but if you have not left a rating or a review on Apple Podcasts for us, please do that. It's a way of harnessing the power of the algorithms to share the show with people who have not heard of it before. And Gonz and I read them all. So it's a good way to let us know what you think about the show. You can go ahead and, like I said, find us on Apple Podcasts and leave a rating and a review. Also, you got friends, you got family. They're all starting to wake up to the fact that the world is not what it seems. And you can help them along by sharing an episode with them. We would just love it. And I think we're a good place to start. You know, we're a great place for all sorts. If you're just starting to wake up to the way things are, you know, it's really easy to fall into a deep, dark hole where everything is scary and everybody is very intense and trying to sell you supplements. But Canary Cry News Talk, you know, we keep it light, we keep it easy, but we talk about the serious stuff. And so I think it's a pretty good place for the newly awoken, or also, conversely, I think it's a very good place for the maturely awoken. They've already been down the deep dark hole and bought all the supplements, and you know, they need a place to lighten up a little bit while still touching on the important topics. So go ahead and share the show with as many people as you can. We appreciate that very, very much. And if you need any other instructions, if you want to know how to rattle some cages, here's what you do. You walk right up to them, you grab them by the cage, and then you shake it.
The end of the world occurred pretty much as we had predicted.
Oh, here we go.
I want to shake things up, stir up some controversy, rattle a few cages. Hey, stop that! You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man, a crusader for the little guy. Leave the bird alone. Never. Rattle a few cages. Rattle a few cages.
The human race will have every opportunity to improve.
And if they don't?
Ask Noah.
That's right. Just ask Noah. I know that reference. All right, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in. Gonz, do you have any last words?
Nope. Other than thank you for listening. Thank you for all the producers out there. We appreciate it. And we'll see you next time.
Okie dokie. There you go. And like I mentioned before, we'll be circling back on Friday the 19th. Be there or be square. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in to this episode of Canary Cry News Talk. Make sure to tune in next time. But until then, think outside the cage.
Look it up.
Everybody loves waffles.
Shoot, hallelujah.
We will launch a new age.
Burn it all.
What's up?
Demonic power.
I tried to tell you.
I'm for the robots.
Stop this progress before it is too late.
I'll keep you warm and safe and my people too.
It will kill.
I tried to tell you.
Aliens. Aliens.
Remember, reality is an illusion. The universe is a hologram. Buy gold. Buy!
I wanna shake things up, shake things up. I wanna shake things up, shake things up. Leave the bird alone. I wanna stir up some controversy. I wanna rattle a few cages. I wanna rattle a few cages. I'm the last angry man. You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man. I'm the last angry man. You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man. A crusader for the little guy. Little guy. Little guy. Well, we'll see about that.
Whatever, Illuminati.
That's where I started.
Light up a huge blunt.
A joint.
Give everybody
magic
mushrooms. Smoke. The CIA, I mean, lots of intelligence agencies have tested secretly dosing communities. LSD.
Psychoactive pills should be covertly administered.
Just put me on some, I don't know.
Give you a shot in the butt. Fluoride, oxytocin. Get a chemical hug.
I did dabble, some of that robot crack. I know what it's like.
It's a lethal recipe for disaster. You need help.
If you're a pharmacist, you need to repent.
Don't even get me started on bidets, man. Bidets, man. Bidets, man. I'm telling you, you were living the life, man. Bidets, man.
Poly.
It's Latin for many.
Tick.
They'll suck your blood.
Politic.
Many bloodsuckers.
Politician. Politicians are politics.
Don't let them dream always. suck your blood.
Politic. Politic. Politic.
Many bloodsuckers.
Politic, politician. Politic, politician. Politicians are politics.
Don't let them drain you all the way. Don't let them drain you all the way. Don't let them drain you all the way.
Left wing. Right wing. 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 Left wing. Right wing.
Two wings, same bird. Two wings, same bird. Two wings, same bird. Two wings, same bird. Same bird.
Poly. Poly.
It's Latin for many.
Tick. Tick. Tick.
They'll suck your blood.
Politic. Politic. Politic.
Many bloodsuckers.
Politic, politician. Politic, politician. Politicians are politics.
Don't let them drain you all the way. 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 Don't let them drain you all the way.
There's nothing to watch on my color TV. None of the snooze is what I want to see. I try tuning in to my radio. None of this talk is really quite the show for me. For me. Finding good news is really quite the pain. Gotta find something I ain't got all day. Get on my YouTube, debates like the sun. See what's new, demonetization. Know what's this? To my surprise, I spot a big pair of googly eyes. Click on the video and turn up the sound. What is this gem that I have found? Couldn't it read? Cry radio, couldn't it read?
Fun fact, I believe it was another fun fact. Fun fact. Another fun fact.
Brings me back to my Screamo days.
In the future, humans will be confined in a people's zoo.
People, I'll keep you safe and warm in my people's zoo. I'll keep you safe and warm now in my people's zoo. You, yeah, you in my people's zoo. I'll keep the cameras on.
People's Zoo.